Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Rocco, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome into Sons of UCF Live. The Sons live every night as the head coach search continues for the UCF Knights. Adam, hello.
I'm exhausted, Trace, but we're here for you tonight. We've got a great show. We've got former UCF players Marlon Williams, Jordan Johnson scheduled to join us, and we have some advocates joining us tonight. Some people will hop in and tell you who they think the coach should be, and Trace and I will either ask them tough questions or not really care because we're tired. So tune in for that. Plus, our we've got Around the Kingdom. We've got What's in the Box and the Mailbag. So an action-packed show for you this Thursday evening. Glad you've decided to join us.
You're an advocate for reckless speculation. Are you not enjoying yourself this week?
This is it.
That's
why I'm exhausted.
Name?
That's why I'm exhausted, because every day I'm like, okay, how do I drum up this guy and that guy? It's exhausting. But I mean, are you concerned at all, Trace, it's taken this long? I know people are saying maybe Terry Mohajir's taking his time, doing his diligence, vetting all the candidates. Some people are saying maybe he's waiting for the right person. Others are saying, if you're taking too long, what's the line between, being thorough and being indecisive? Where are you at with how long this process has taken?
Well, really, early signing day was a key point for me, and if it couldn't be accomplished by then I'm comfortable with the time frame and finding who Terry Mohajir believes to be the right person. I saw earlier today on social media, Twitter, our friend Andy at UCF XOS, who said, when these websites sell subscription-based media, be mindful of who is making up stuff. I'll add that word. He used another word to get more subscriptions. There are a lot of people floating things on social media, message boards and the like. Every day it is a new name. We're going to explore some of those names. A leader in this space for more than 25 years is Brandon Helwig, publisher at UCFSports.com, with multiple updates. He floats a different name every day, but he's covered the Knights for a quarter century. He is saying most recently, Tulane's head coach, John Summerall, who we're going to talk about a little bit throughout this show, may prefer North Carolina, which we've discussed may be a better job than the UCF job, more resources, right? A name that we talked a little bit about on Around the Kingdom with Eric Lopez, an interesting description that he had for him was Penn State offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki. Is that how you say it? I think he said.
I think it's Kotelnicki. Kotelnicki, I think, is the answer. It's definitely not Kornacki. I know that.
Not Kornacki. Brandon, saying that he may be interested in both UCF and West Virginia, that he really wants a head coaching job. And of course, the most interesting name of local interest is Scott Frost, former UCF head coach, went off to Nebraska, then quiet for a while, and now with the Los Angeles Rams. That would certainly shake things up in East Orlando.
First off, Brandon's like the National Hurricane Center, right? He's got updates like every 11 and 5, whatever the time frame is, too. So hats off to Brandon on that. Look, I think we talked about this Scott Frost a little bit last night on Around the Kingdom, Around the Team Overtime, available wherever you get your downloadable content and or YouTube. And I said last night what I'll say again today, Trace. If we look at the year of 2024 and you validate and vet all the candidates, and Scott Frost is the best candidate based on who Scott Frost is in 2024, then I'm okay with it. If you're hiring Scott Frost because of what he did in 2017, that Scott Frost is not coming back. Not because he can't, because he physically can't, because the conference is different. The players are different. The administration is different. The 2017 Scott Frost is long gone. So if you're looking at Scott Frost and saying that's our guy, hire him because of what he brings to you in 2024. Hire him because of what you think he can build a program, not because of what he did here 7 years ago. A lot of time has passed since then. And so if that's the choice, I'm okay with it. But I don't want the nostalgia of like, hey, let's get this guy back in here and get it all fired back up again, because the odds of that happening are not great. Now, could he part a new chapter here and do something different? Absolutely. But I don't want to hire Frost just because he was great in 2017. I want to hire Frost if he's great in 2024. And if Terry Mohajir looks at all that and says that's the guy, I'm okay with all that.
By the time the hire's made, it could be 2025. Of course, Scott Frost coming in 2016. That's soon to be 9 years ago, and a lot has happened since then for both UCF and for Scott Frost. A lot of kudos to the UCF coaching staff that remains in the public statement released by UCF. No mention of an acting or an interim head coach, but they were still out there recruiting, and they brought in some names. You even saw Athletics Director Terry Mohajir from his office talking to recruits. He surfaced during the week amidst his search. How about these guys committing to UCF without a staff in place? Credit to them that they really want to be at UCF.
Yeah, this has the making of one of those like legendary classes that if things turn out the right way, you'll remember these 8, maybe 9, maybe 10 names, depending upon what happens tomorrow. There's still some time for signing day, but you'll remember this class that kind of, committed to UCF and was there throughout that run. But I mean, hats off to these kids. It clearly shows they want to be here for what here is, not for who the coach is. Tip of the cap to Terry Mahadra for stepping in and sort of playing the role. Although Tony Williams called him coach, maybe he's going to hire himself. I don't know. But tip of the cap of the staff, Terry Mahadra, for keeping some of this class together. We've lost a few. Javon Boggs, obviously, is a big name that decided to go to Florida State last minute. But despite not having a lot of infrastructure in place, getting 8 good recruits and a couple of really solid 4-star recruits, I think is a good coup for UCF. Hopefully, more will come in the portal, more maybe will come in the second signing day. But you got to tip your cap again to the staff and to Terry Mahadra for trying to hold this together as best as possible.
Well, of course, without a coach in place, you do miss early signing day. The portal officially opens, Monday? And you've already seen some names. We won't go through all of them, mentioning that they're planning to enter the portal. I wish a guy would just wait to see what happens before you make a pronouncement that you're entering a portal that's not even officially open yet.
To be fair, these guys, they can come back, right? I mean, it depends on if they're officially entered in. They can obviously, lobby the new coach, whoever that is, to come back. I mean, there's rumors and whispers that certain people who said they were leaving are now thought to be reconsidering if there's a new regime here. So some of those names could come back, but again, a lot to speculate, a lot unknown at this point. So we could spend the entire 2-hour block of the rest of our lives talking about this, and we'll probably get half of it right because things just change at such a fast clip around here.
Fast clip indeed. A week ago, Thanksgiving, we took the day off to celebrate the holiday. Friday, Black Friday, that big showdown with Utah that might decide things in the Big 12. Senior day.
Decided a few things.
Salute. And then rapid fire as we speak now. Gus Malzahn is the offensive coordinator at Florida State. As I've thought about this a little bit more, I'll tell you one thing. You mentioned Javon Boggs committing there. One thing that does concern me is Gus's knowledge of our financial base, especially with the NIL and the donor base. He knows how much Florida State needs to bid to get a player away from UCF.
Yeah, but he also, I mean, there's also a lot of, if you want to talk about Javon Boggs specifically, there's a lot of evidence of how wide receivers were used at UCF. And there's that as well that UCF can use in that same battle. But money talks, right? And that's obviously going to be a challenge and a concern. Keeping him staying in state, him staying in essentially the same geographic area certainly is a challenge that UCF will have to face. But we don't know who the new coach is, and that person could bring in a staff that has even better ties, better connections with players in the state. So, but it certainly is unfortunate. But I wrote this in the Sun's newsletter, a cheap plug, by the way, subscribe to that. You could have given me 1,000 guesses on how this Gus Malzahn tenure would have ended, and I never would have ended up here. I don't know that I ever would have gotten to he'll leave to go be Florida State's offensive coordinator. I don't know. I had to check that tweet from Pete Thamel like 9 times to make sure I wasn't getting like fooled by the internet on this one, because it just seems so far fetched that this would be the reality. But here we are almost a week later, and it's just odd that we're here, and we still don't know anything, which is also odd, I guess.
Still don't know anything. Of course, now rumors are that John Sumrall, the Tulane head coach, who has a busy week with the American Athletic Conference Championship at Army. Is that correct? Do I read that correctly?
Also would not have guessed that after.
Yeah, you wouldn't have.
For sure.
How about all of these schools in these conference championship games being new to their, pretty much new to their respective leagues? Sumrall was that hot name, right? That I don't know how many UCF fans you're talking about. You never would have predicted Gus Malzahn going to Florida State. Who was talking about Tulane's head coach being UCF's next head coach until recently? But when that North Carolina job opened, you knew that there would be interest there. We're going to weave in content that you might normally see on Sons of UCF Live with some advocates who are talking about the different coaches. And when I put out some feelers for that, our good buddy, friend of the show, former part of the Sons, always a part of the Sons of UCF, Leo Rodriguez, hops on with us to kind of make the case for Mr. Sumrall. Leo, hello. Good to see you again.
Hello to you guys. I'm glad to be back with you guys. Definitely looking forward to advocate for Mr. Sumrall in this.
Even if he's maybe considering North Carolina, why do you think he's would be a good fit at UCF?
So I really don't care what anybody says. Winning at every level is hard. So no matter if it was at the Sun Belt level where, he had an amazing record with Troy, back-to-back conference championships, and then to take a job at Tulane, with what Willie Fritz did, and go 9-3 in his first season. I mean, it really shows that he has that drive to take that step and take a program by the throat and, really make it his and instill that culture. And if you see how Tulane players talk about John Summerall and some of his press conferences when they asked him, hey, your coach could be gone, they love the guy. I mean, it would certainly be a change of style for UCF, as everybody knows he's a defensive-minded coach. And I'm a little bit biased. I will say that I love defense, so seeing Summerall in black and gold would definitely be attractive to myself. But I know you guys can correct me on this, but since you guys have been watching UCF for a lifetime now, UCF has been.
Hey Adam,
hey,
wow,
you got. Hey,
old.
I'm a young buck out here. I'm a young buck, but it's true that UCF has been predominantly offensive throughout its history, or would you guys say different?
Yeah, I mean, George O'Leary obviously was a defensive-minded coach, but Kruzek prior to that was offense. I think G. McDowell, that was in the 80s. I don't think anybody knew what anybody was there. So, yeah, I guess the hires that UCF has had have leaned more offense. But Leo, John Summerall, 1 year at Tulane. Prior to that, he was at Troy. Doesn't have a ton of head coaching experience. Certainly never coached at the P4 level. Does that concern you at all, just that jump from literally been at Tulane for 1 year after Troy? Do you think that's too big a leap for a coach to make in such a short amount of time?
Well, I think his SEC experience kind of will help him. He'd had a lot of coordinator jobs and assistant jobs at the SEC level with Mark Stoops, who's also a defensive mind. I think that it definitely helps him that he has now head coaching experience at the G5 level. So that transition of, being able to manage a whole team might not be as hard. I think that the level of play evidently goes up, when you make that jump to the P4, and the talent and, the type of recruits you have to recruit now, the bigger, faster, stronger, stuff like that. So, which I think he's built for that. He's got good connections in the Southeast. So I think John Summerall, I don't think it'll be bad. I don't think it'll be a bad transition for him to for UCF to have that head coaching job at the P4 level.
Of course, it'd be funny if, in fact, he ends up at North Carolina, as UCF is scheduled to host North Carolina in the 2025 season. So going back, though, you would prefer, if not Summerall, you still would like a defensive-minded coach, a defense-first coach?
So I'm open to all coaches, right? So you got guys like Jamie Chadwell out there who people kind of said it's similar to what Gus is, which I can go down the rabbit hole with Jamie Chadwell. I'm so glad if he doesn't come to UCF, I'll be glad. But that's not my job.
What's the anti-Chadwell?
I mean, just take this past season, 2 games, for example. You lose to a 0-6 team against Kennesaw State. Bad team, just unprepared. I think the unpreparedness for that game, it's not that he didn't know how to coach or, forgot how to coach overnight. It just, they didn't execute that game. And it kind of brings me vibes of Gus and Navy. I don't know, something like along those lines. And also Sam Houston, they faced Sam Houston with seconds on the clock. They were down 2 points, so they needed a field goal to go ahead. I think it was 20-18 the final score, and decides to pass the ball and ends up in a pick, and Sam Houston sealed the game. So just things like that kind of remind me of Gus.
We're used to that. We know that play.
I don't want that style back up, but I'm definitely not just solely focused on defense. I would like a change for UCF. I do want to see what a defensive minded coach would bring to UCF. I think it'd be cool. I think people need to kind of open up more about that, because I know they love UC Fast. They love Scott Frost offense. That sounds all great and all, but John Summerall definitely brings that different vibe and a spark. And I think he's hungry because he's young. So he's a hungry guy. Obviously, he's moving up, right? So he's at Tulane now, and he's definitely open to go up to a P4, and I don't think he'll struggle because he has that drive.
Well, Leo, I love the drive of a young coach. I love going defense. The problem is who is he coaching? A lot of folks have left the UCF roster right now. So do you think that he's somebody who can A, recruit this area really well, or B, do you think he can bring guys in from the portal? Because right now UCF has just been a sieve of players leaving. So he may be a great coach, but he may be coaching Yumi and Trace at this rate on the defensive side of the football.
Right. So at this point, what I'm thinking, my train of thought is, you know what, he's probably going to get a lot of Tulane players to kind of, jump ship from Tulane and follow him to UCF. And I'm by no means saying that, these Tulane players are great and they're going to play great in the Big 12. But I think it's a starting point for him because he has that coaching experience and that bond with these current players. Moving forward, I think Summerall is going to have to build connections here in Florida because we are the recruiting hotbed of the United States. I don't care what anybody else thinks. We really are. And it's kind of sad that, not just UCF, but programs in Florida are kind of on the low right now, considering all the talent we have in the high school ranks. But I think he's not going to struggle with recruiting as much as maybe some people might think because of that SEC experience. I think that his years at Kentucky, he coached, I don't know if you guys know this name, but Josh Allen, defensive end, Jacksonville Jaguars. So, he's got some pedigree to him that, people would be surprised. So those are my 2 cents on that.
The case for John Sumrall, you'll get to see Tulane in action Friday night at Army in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. No decision by Terry Mohajir yet. Perhaps he's watching some of these championship games to see what his next coach does. Leo Rodriguez, we appreciate you being with us back on Sons of UCF Live. And we
Absolutely,
will see you again
guys.
soon.
Always a pleasure.
Good to see you, Leo. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, Leo. All right. A guy we weren't really talking a whole lot about in Sumrall. You still think he's in the mix, Adam?
He's going to be a hot name, obviously, right? You saw some articles out of New Orleans today that UNC wants to talk to him. And let's not forget, that doesn't mean that Tulane also can't try to re-up him and keep him there as well. If you're John Sumrall, if Tulane comes to you and tries to extend you and says, hey, we're going to throw X amount of money at you, right? And you can either stay at Tulane where you already have a setup, right? You go to UNC, you go to UCF, you stay at Tulane for a year. Mark Stoops is on the hot seat at Kentucky. He's been on the hot seat. They had a terrible recruiting class. He lost a couple guys in the portal. If Tulane's going to throw a bag at me, I'll stay here for a year, do this one more year, and then go to Kentucky. It's a win-win, right? So I think if I'm John Sumrall's agent, I'm saying maybe we just grab some money at Tulane, leverage these two options, get some money, and wait for the job you really want. But that's just my thinking on that. So I think my sense is lower than maybe I would have thought earlier in the week that John Sumrall comes to UCF.
Big 12 out with its all Big 12 teams this Thursday. Running back R.J. Harvey, first team all Big 12. Defensive lineman Lee Hunter. Second team, several honorable mentions include wide receiver Kobe Hudson, defensive lineman Ijali Kelly, offensive lineman Amari Kite. Interesting, Ricky Barber, honorable mention for both defensive lineman of the year, and R.J. Harvey, a honorable mention for offensive player of the year. I think he earned more than honorable mention in that category.
I don't understand how the Big 12 does these awards. Last year, RJ was snubbed here. I'm glad to see he finally got the first team, which I think he got snubbed for last year out of behind Ollie Gordon, which was probably unjustified. But I'm glad he finally got his flowers on this one. But Shedeur Sanders was the offensive player of the year in the Big 12. Cam Scatterbo would like a word. I mean, there's a lot of good players in the Big 12. Travis Hunter made first team on offense and defense.
Well, I don't know. I could go.
I mean, they're no better receivers. I don't know. The Big 12 obviously does what the Big 12 does, but I'm glad RJ got his flowers to get first team because he got robbed last year, and I think that's a deserved honor for him.
Another name that has surfaced throughout the week, it seems like a pipe dream, especially where we are in the week, but an advocate for Deion Sanders is our very own Andrew Jericho, who joins us now, future host of Locked On Buffaloes.
How's it going, gentlemen?
Andrew, I don't think UCF can afford Deion Sanders, but coming back to Florida is certainly interesting for him. He's certainly recruiting the state of Florida pretty well.
1 second.
Oh no!
What is
we
that?
Is
it a prop? It's a prop. What is
Can
it?
he see what that is?
The primetime train right here to downtown Orlando. Money, we don't worry about that. Give him a blank check. I can triple my tuition. I can take out loans. I'll be in debt forever. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. As long as my good buddy Deion's in town, I think we're having a good time.
Well, you've been talking to him, haven't you, all week? What is he telling?
I haven't spoken to him, but if I was to hypothetically speak to him, I let him know that UCF is, if he wants to build a brand in Florida, which many rumors have been that's his biggest goal for a while. It's you take FSU, you take UF, you take Miami. If Coach Prime comes to UCF, he is the biggest brand in Florida. UCF automatically shoots to the top. I really don't think that he could be out recruited in Florida. Everybody would want to play for him, and it would be like a dream fit. Obviously, the money, the issues. Being realistic, it's probably not going to happen. But we've heard the Chadwells, the GJs, the Summeralls.
We've stopped talking about GJ Kinney
that
by
was
the
like a
time
month
we
ago
made it
at
to
this point.
Thursday.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you make of the criticism people would say is that Prime is only good this year because he has Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? You take those two guys away from him, he may not be as good a coach. What would you say to somebody who levies that criticism against Coach Prime?
I mean, it's just false. I mean, he's built, that's a team. He had a team last year that was not as talented, but it's still similar grounds. He has built and brought in players. He's bringing in 5-star recruits, it seems like, almost every other week. He can recruit any kind of talent in the world. And Colorado was one game off of a conference championship this year. The jump that they have made in the past 3 years from winning one game to now 7, it's insane. In the conference play, I should say. So I most definitely think that anybody who says he's carried by his son and by Travis Hunter, meanwhile, they've had chances to leave. Although his dad, he's kept talent and he knows how to keep talent. It's a brand, it's a market. You saw the excitement that UCF had his biggest game of the season because he came to town and they wanted to put on a show. So it speaks for itself.
But isn't it a bit of a lateral move at best, right? Isn't this, you could do better for him in his career now, maybe an NFL job even, than making a stop in Orlando?
Oh, absolutely. But wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be fun?
You're all about the vibes around this one, aren't you?
If it's not about the vibes, we're doing it all wrong. Shout out JP. No, in reality, it wouldn't be. That's the argument. Could UCF give enough money to pull a Deion Sanders, and would it even be big enough of a jump? He'd be transferring to the same conference, but he'd be going to the state. I feel like the biggest pull would be the state that he's coaching in. That's the main reason. But if he was to do so, you'd think he'd go for an FSU or a school of that nature. But I think if he wanted to just coach in Florida, maybe with his son leaving, with Travis going to NFL, Shedeur going to NFL, maybe like, all right, let's build up another black and gold program that doesn't wear gold that often.
Andrew, let's talk serious matters here for a second. Do you think if Coach Prime came here, you could get a weekly show with him? Do you think you could do something with him? Like, is there opportunities for the Suns and maybe Andrew specifically if Coach Prime comes here?
I've said it since the beginning. I'm willing to quintuple my student debt to get him into this program.
Is that a word?
And that being along with the Suns, for sure. I would want to set up a weekly show. We speak about literally everything. It can be Suns Daily with Deion, and that would be
Suns Daily with Deion,
and that would be a hit. It would be a remarkable show. Throw my face in the right corner, throw Trace's in the left, Adam in the middle next to him, and it's a good time.
I like that. You're the only one on this panel, Andrew, that's actually talked to Coach Prime face to face. But if you had a chance to ask him one question right now, what would you want to ask him?
Oh, can I get it one-on-one? All right. No, I can talk. I would ask, okay, right now, I mean, speaking on UCF, because at the end of the day, reporter or fan or journalist, you want to see, this is my alma mater, I want to see it succeed to the best of his ability. What would the requirements be to come to a UCF, and what does Florida mean to you? Because I feel like he's a very loyal guy. He believes in where he comes from, his roots. He doesn't flim flam with his ideas. If he says something, he means it. And I just want to know what's his thoughts and an idea to possibly do that.
Andrew Jericho making the case for Deion Sanders. Andrew, thanks for hopping on with us on Sons of UCF Live.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Hopefully the shit. Oh, that's bright.
Can you see us? Have you been able to see it the entire time or no?
Somewhat.
Okay, we'll take it. Look at this.
Have a good one, guys.
We'll do anything for
Thank you,
TV.
Ed.
Thanks, Andrew.
You know, the talk of money with Dion. We know Gus was in that $4 million range, about to get $5 million. What do you think it's going to cost? I mean, Gus was already one of the lowest paid coaches in the Big 12. How much money does Terry Mohajir have now to ante up? I know it may not be Deion Sanders level money, but he's going to have to make the next coach higher paid than last, right?
How much does he have, or how much would they want, right?
Well, how much do you think he has to play with here? Like how much? I mean, $5 million, $6 million a year.
I think if you want to
Is
be,
that going to be a 5-year deal? 5 years, 30 mil.
I think if you want to be competitive, you got to be in that 5 to 7 range. I think that's kind of the middle sweet spot of the Big 12 coaches, right? With Coach Prime near the top, obviously, and I think it's Brett Brennan's towards the bottom, right? So you got to be somewhere in that 5 to 7 range. I think if you want to be competitive, particularly if you want to get a sitting Power 4 coach. Now, if you want to go to the group of 5, maybe you have a little bit of flexibility to get lower in that number, in that 5 to 6 range. But if you want to get a sitting, P4 coach, you're going to have to get in that 6 to 7, maybe even $8 million range, which is it's a lot of coin to scratch together for UCF.
Well, Colorado will not be in the Big 12 championship game coming up this weekend. It's Iowa State and Arizona State, just as everybody predicted. Let's hear more in this Big 12 minute from Jeff Allen.
The Dr. Pepper Big 12 Football Championship pits number 15 Arizona State versus number 16 Iowa State at Jerry World in Arlington, Texas. It's been quite a season for the Sun Devils, who were picked last in the conference media preseason poll for their first season in the Big 12. Coach Kenny Dillingham has led ASU to a 7-2 conference record and 10-2 overall. Matching those records, Iowa State under Matt Campbell recorded their first ever 10-win season in program history. The Cyclones, who were picked 6th in the preseason poll, are back in the conference title game for the first time since 2020. Kickoff will be Saturday at noon on ABC. What will the game mean for the college football playoff? The likelihood is that the Big 12 is a one-bid league, so it's a win and get-in scenario as the number 12 seed. In other conference news, we turn to volleyball, where the Big 12 will send 6 teams to the NCAA tournament. League champion Arizona State will be joined by Kansas, Baylor, Utah, TCU, and BYU. In postseason honors, TCU's Melanie Parr was named the league's player of the year, the Horned Frogs' first recipient of that award. Arizona State had Mary Schroll earn the conference's libero of the year, while Argentina Ung was the setter of the year, and J.J. Van Neel was unanimously chosen as the coach of the year. For UCF, Emily Wilson was a selection for second-team honors. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
Our friend Robert, at 2 letters, 2 words on Twitter, lives in the Dallas area. He is credentialed through the Sons of UCF and will be covering the Big 12 championship game for us. How about that?
First off, kudos to Jeff for getting that volleyball knowledge out here. Second off, Tristan, are you like me in that, like, I keep checking my computer to make sure we didn't hire a coach while we're talking? Like, I feel like that's going to happen. And I'm like, do we sure we didn't hire anybody? What does that look like? So
yes.
I did not hear most of that update from Jeff Allen, but I did hear volleyball, which is just fantastic. Also great. Thanks to Robert for doing that. If you haven't seen his series on road trips, he went to every road trip this year for UCF, went to the tailgate, met some people, drank a lot of moonshine apparently, but he put together some really good content. So go to the YouTube channel right now. You can see all the videos from the tailgate sites and a lot of good content for Robert. So much thanks to Robert and you, Trace, obviously, for getting out to all these road games and providing the Sons of UCF and all of us with some content.
Yeah, Robert out there, looking forward to what coverage he brings us from the game this weekend. Big 12 pick'em, 1 game left on the schedule. Nightwalker leads with 70 points. A team called Dolan Orlando, 1 point behind. So they'll have to have different schools there if, in fact, Nightwalker is to be unseated. I finish 10 up on the artist formerly known as UCF Mike. You mentioned it earlier. Sign up for the newsletter. How can people do that? Growing subscription base. It's free. So that's a plus.
It is free. That's the web address right there. I think we've got 2 issues out now. Just a way for us to kind of, compact everything we do into a one-stop shop for everybody. A couple of new sprinkles of content in here and there, and some fun along the way. So do us a solid subscribe. sonsucf.beehive.com/subscribe is how you can do that. Should be in your inbox every Sunday, Monday-ish, depending upon if we have coaching news or not. And we appreciate your support. We had a winner. We gave away a T-shirt donated to us by Brian Peterson. I believe it was Matt Stanger was his name, if I pronounce it correctly, who will be getting that UCF Orlando polo coming his way. So maybe we'll do another giveaway. I don't know, but make sure you subscribe, tell a friend. We'd appreciate it.
That is very good. All right, a 1-minute break from football talk, and then we'll get back to it.
What?
Men's basketball improves to 6-2 after beating California Baptist. I kept calling them Cal Baptist until I read their media notes, and they don't like to be called Cal Baptist, so they are California Baptist. We bring back Andrew Jericho in a tape segment with his UCF Men's Basketball Minute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Jericho, and welcome back to your Sons of UCF Men's Basketball Minute. It's been a week of improvement for the Knights following the back-to-back losses in the Greenbrier tip-off, first against Wisconsin, and second, a heartbreaking triple overtime loss to LSU. Since then, the Knights have come home and started their own winning streak, starting off with beating Milwaukee, and most recently, beating Cal Baptist 74-59. One of the main area of improvements that they've seen, getting a lead and holding it to close out the game.
I think the game from the Greenbrier teaches you in a game like this, how to kind of manage the game, how to close the game out, in the second half. That game we got up 15 at halftime, and we were able to get walked down, and they ended up winning the ball game in triple overtime. This game we get up by 15 with enough time on the clock, but we were able to maintain that lead. We didn't let the lead dissolve.
And on that note, thank you for watching your Sons of UCF Men's Basketball Minute.
Up next, Sunday, December 8th, against Tarleton at 1 o'clock at the arena. A lot of questions, a lot of talk this week about Scott Frost at L025 asking in the mailbag question, what are our thoughts? Shaquem Griffin, others touting Scott Frost. Do you think it would be a good idea to look backwards instead of forwards? And I basically asked that if you could hire Scott Frost. That was my Twitter poll question. Would you? 54% said no, Adam. 54% no, you cannot find lightning in a bottle again. We continue with our advocacy of various coaches by advocating for Scott Frost with former UCF wide receiver Marlon Williams. Marlon, welcome into Sons of UCF Live.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Congratulations to you on being a world champion with the United Football League's Birmingham Stallions. How's that feel?
Feels good. It's always good to win a championship, man. Nothing
That's
like
right.
the ones at UCF, though.
There you go. There you go. Perfect segue. All right. What is the case for Scott Frost? He succeeded at UCF, went off to Nebraska. We know that didn't go well. He went away for a little while back in the NFL with the Los Angeles Rams. And what's your case? Why bring him back now? Could he do it again?
I feel like he can. I think he recruited Florida really well when he was at UCF. I mean, he went to Nebraska. I don't think he signed that many Florida guys. Pretty hard to, get guys from Alabama, Florida, and Georgia to go to Nebraska to play football. I mean, one bad stint doesn't make you a bad coach, in my opinion.
Marlon, what were his strengths as a coach? Obviously, you spent some time with him. When you think about Coach Frost, what did he do really well that you like as a player?
I think he trusted his players. He saw us work all week, and he would put trust in you. Like, he would tell you, if I'm playing you, I trust you, so make plays. Like, he had freshmen playing in 2017, guys in big moments. Like, I got to play in the championship game, and I was 18 at the time. I just got to college, but he trusted me. I just feel like he's a great coach, and he understands his players because he did it himself.
We've seen a lot of former players say that they would run through a wall for Scott Frost. What is it about him that you said he believes in his players, but that's a lot of sentiment for him that his players are going to the mat for him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just think, I don't know. I think he's the man for the job. I think he's really good at, connecting with his players. I don't know what happened in Nebraska. His record wasn't good there, but who says he can't come back and do the same thing? I mean, I'm just throwing a name out there. Why not him? Everybody says no, he has success here, but he's
There's
one
some
of the main
buzz,
reasons.
Marlon, that
Yeah,
he could be
it's some
the
buzz
guy
though, but
for the job.
he's been here. He's the reason why we are. He's kind of the startup reason of why we are where we are right now. I mean, why not? Why not let him come back and try to finish it off? I mean,
Marlon, everybody talks about that UCF fast offense that he ran back then. You were in that offense. How do you describe that system? What was that offense like to play in?
really fun. We had a lot of guys that made plays. I mean, isn't that what everybody's asking for, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's complaining about, how the offense is stagnant. Why not bring that back and see everybody's complaining about it. I mean, that's just my thing. I mean, if you want a fast offense, why not bring somebody that you know has done it before and had success doing it here?
How
You
would you
got to get
compare?
QB1 right, though, right, Marlon? You can't go through 4
Oh yeah,
quarterbacks in a season.
you definitely do have to get a quarterback. But I feel like we should recruit one or play the guys that we got on the roster right now that are young. We can't keep getting quarterbacks, in the transfer portal because we don't know what we're going to get and what if we miss.
Merle, I know
That
you were active on social media this offseason, or this season rather, watching UCF. What do you think went wrong? I mean, I know you were frustrated as an alum, somebody who bled for this school. What do you think went wrong? What did you see as a former player that maybe you didn't like seeing out of this team this past season?
I mean, I'm not gonna say we didn't play well because it was some bright spots on the team. We should have been better than what we were. You know, it was just frustrating because all of the talent that we had on that team, I felt like that was like one of the most talented teams we probably had in a while. So I felt like we were supposed to perform way better. And I think the kids wanted to, I think they wanted to perform better too. It's just that sometimes you're not put in the best positions or you don't perform the best and you lose. And it shows when you play in a better conference. You have to be ready to play every week.
Of course, the team went 0-12 in 2015. Scott Frost comes in 6-6. They lose the Cure Bowl. How quickly do you think Scott Frost could turn around this Knights team that went 4-8 this season?
I don't know. To be honest, I mean with NIL, we had to go get some guys, and it's a lot of guys that's in the transfer portal right now on our team. So like we can't expect even if it wasn't Coach Frost, we just throwing that name out there. If it was any coach, I don't expect some huge turnaround that quickly. I mean, I hope for it, but just seeing what we're losing and seeing what we're gonna have to bring in, it might not be as fast as we wanted as fans, as former players, So I just think it's gonna take maybe 1 or 2 years, in my opinion. If we get the right guys and we get the right coaches, we get the right guys, I feel like we can turn it around. Who doesn't want to come play in Orlando?
That's right. What's next for Marlon Williams? You back with Birmingham?
Yeah, I'm gonna be back this year. Still chasing that dream, still getting to play. Get to play and get paid. So I can't really complain. They gonna sign me. I'm gonna play.
There you go. Go for another
Right.
championship.
Yeah, 4 in a row. We'll see.
Wow, that would be something, wouldn't it? 4 in a row.
Yeah, that would be a first for me. I think winning 3 in a row is a first for me too. So,
Marlon, I know you're active on social media. A lot of people getting real reckless on the timeline with a lot of the UCF players right now. I know I saw you in a little conversation with a couple of guys talking about EJ Colston. What advice would you give to the young players right now dealing with social media, dealing with all the stuff that's going on without a coach? I mean, it's got to be a lot for these guys. What advice would you, as kind of a vet now, an old head, what advice would you give those young guys?
honestly, I would just tell them don't look at it. I mean, when I was a player, it's hard for you to believe, but I never looked at that. I don't think I started looking at that until I started playing for the Birmingham Stallions. Like when I was in college, I never looked online because I always heard of the stories of kickers getting bullied all day long. I'm the type of person I'm gonna say something back. I'm not gonna get my feelings. I'm gonna say something back. When you're in college, you gotta kind of watch what you say to people because everybody's watching. But when you're like a pro, people really don't care. As long as you're not saying anything too crazy, you can defend yourself. So as a young guy, I'm not replying. I'm not even looking. I'm making the best decisions for myself. And if people want to say something about it, they can. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that got to face my decisions. They don't have to. So
A UCF great, Marlon Williams, making the case for Scott Frost here on Sons of UCF Live. Marlon, thanks for being with us.
thank you.
Appreciate it, Marlon. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Are you convinced? You're a little on the fence about Scott Frost, Adam. What do you think?
Am I on the fence? I mean, listen, again,
I think you are on the fence.
Hold on. If 2024 Scott Frost is the right coach, I'm okay with that. I don't want to hire 2017 Scott Frost. That guy isn't around anymore. That's a corpse. I want to hire the living, breathing Scott Frost of 2024. If that's the guy, I'm in. It's Corey. He doesn't exist anymore. 2017 does not exist anymore. It's a fiction of our memory. It's not a thing anymore. But 2024 can be. And listen, I love to hear players saying there's a connection point between me and my coach, and that drove me to play harder, play different. I had a trust in a player. I played loose. I played, I played with some care, I guess. There are some people who have thought that under Gus, there were shorter leashes. You kind of got a doghouse, and you're Johnny Richardson, you fumble, you weren't seen for like 6 weeks. Maybe there's something to be said about the way that you're led as a coach. And if Frost has that mentality, that may be part of the culture I think we need to build here. Now, could other coaches do that too? Maybe, but there is something nostalgic about that. I think it would be fun. I'll give you that. It would be fun if Frost came back. But again, I want Frost because he's good in 2024, not because he was good in 2017.
Well, you know who was good in 2024 and 2017? Christian Simmons of the Pegasus podcast, who's good enough to follow Marlon Williams on Sons of UCF Live as we talk about Jamie Chadwell, who was some talk a couple of days ago. You know how this story goes. You were live Tuesday night with the Pegasus podcast with Bailey Adams. Things change and not change. Nothing happens and some things happen. What's the case for this Liberty guy?
Yeah, well, first off, I can't say enough good things to you guys for saying let's have Christian follow Marlon Williams advocating for Scott Frost. So appreciate that one. But yeah, this is an interesting one because I feel like, I don't know, as much as I am excited at the idea of Chadwell, I sort of have that sneaking suspicion that the moment has come and gone. There was all the hype on Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it was, but it was really the only time that I was happy with the way this coaching search was going because it's been a lot of interesting things since. And I'm really, really, really in on Chadwell, and I was most surprised when his name was getting seriously floated how upset a lot of the fan base was with that option, because I think that it's easy whenever there's a coaching search to just say, let's look at the names, and okay, yeah, Scott Frost is a name. We know Scott Frost. Lincoln Riley is a name, apparently. But the thing about Chadwell, and the thing I think you have to think about if you're a UCF fan, is who is going to come in and win in a situation like this one? And I think that was the big mistake that we saw with Gus Malzahn, which I was all in on at the time, was that at the end of the day, what did the Auburn situation that he came from and had success in at one point really have in common with UCF's reality? And Chadwell's a guy who has repeatedly at 3 different stops gone to a place that didn't have a lot of resources, that didn't have a strong history of winning, and steadily built them into a consistent winner. And I'm looking for a builder. I'm looking for someone who maybe isn't the flashiest name, but someone that we know can go to a place where they don't have limitless resources available to them and they can still establish a winning culture and get that program where it wants to be.
Christian, how much stock do you put in a quote unquote group of 5 coach making a jump to P4? Do you think it's as hard as people make it, or is there any concern on your part about Chadwell kind of stepping up in competition coming to the P4?
I think it's hilarious how UCF fans have been here for like 18 months and are like, we can't deal with G5 coaches. I think that's been a fantastic switch up over this last year and a half. But I'm not saying that it's not invaluable. I'm not saying that's not valuable to have P4 coaching experience. I would argue that I'm not sure that UCF has been here long enough to qualify as a full-on P4. Like, I don't know how similar UCF is yet to like the SEC programs or the Big Ten programs where UCF fans say they want experience from. I'd also say, look at the hires that are hitting in college football right now. It's not guys who spent time as P4 coordinators. It's guys like Lance Leipold, who show they could win in a bunch of different situations at a bunch of different levels. It's guys like Kurt Signetti at Indiana, who goes from James Madison and immediately has them in the playoff picture. I mean, it's college football has changed a lot in these last few years. It's very different than it was in, 2017, for example. And I think that the type of hires that are succeeding now, it's changed. The old roadmap used to be, you start you become a P4 coordinator, you do that. Then you go be a G5 head coach, then you go be a P4 head coach. But that's not the skill set that's hitting anymore, especially with the de-emphasis on play calling and head coaching now. It's really just guys who know how to run a program, know how to work within limitations, and know how to build a culture of winning. I mean, those are the hires that are hitting. So that's what I'm looking at.
You want an offensive-minded guy or a defensive-minded guy?
I want a winning-minded guy. Let's just get someone who can win some games. It's actually funny because the typical logic whenever a team goes for a hire, right, is that you typically do the reverse of whatever you just did if it didn't work. Like, okay, you had a defensive coach and it wasn't working, you go offense. So I kind of wondered a little bit after Gus moved on if we would see them swing the other way and say, well, maybe we want a defensive guy because we've done offense a few times here. But I don't know. I don't put a huge amount of stock in it either way. I do think that some fans are a little too caught up in offensive philosophy of the head coach when, again, in this era of college football, I think it's going to all come down to who they hire as coordinator. I know we just
you don't want a guy that calls his own plays and does everything. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, Trace, it just went so well these last few years. I'm craving more of it. But I mean, really, all the big time coaches in college football, they're not calling plays anymore. That's going away. So I'd be more curious in who a head coach is going to bring in as their coordinators than what they did when they were calling plays.
I know you're here to talk about Chadwell to an extent, Christian, but his name was hot on Tuesday. I'm looking at my calendar. It's Thursday. We still have no coach. Why the delay? Does this delay concern you at all? Or are you comfortable with Terry Mohajir taking some time to make this hire?
Yeah, I haven't slept since Friday. It's wearing on me, but I don't know. My take on this is the same. Okay, say they hire Scott Frost. Say that tomorrow morning Terry Mohajir says, "Big news, guys. I'll finally have a press conference. Frost is the guy. Let's do this." That's going to bother me because you could have hired Frost on Sunday. You could have hired Frost an hour after Gus left, probably, if you wanted. I'm okay with the time this is taking if it had something to do with conference championship weekend. If there is a candidate or someone they're interested in who is preoccupied and this wasn't going to be able to be a fully fleshed out search until that guy was done with that. If they go through this wait and go through signing day without a head coach and then they get someone who they could have gotten at the start of this week, that's when I'm just kind of frustrated because it feels like you cost yourself a signing day for no reason. And they did okay. I'm not here to say no one signed, but also I feel like I'm just feeling being so negative. I feel like UCF fans need to chill a little bit because everyone was obviously having big celebrations on social media of some guys signed. Class is 15 out of 16 in the Big 12. This is not a
Boy, how bad are you to finish 16th behind a school that doesn't have?
It was Cincinnati behind UCF. So shout out to
Satterfield needs to be concerned. Houston jettisoned Holgerson and Malzahn left UCF. I think that's who needs to be concerned.
That is a little tough. That is a bit of a tough look if you're one of those Bearcat fans.
Well, Pegasus podcast went live Tuesday night. Is that going to become a thing now? There could be a coaching search continuing Tuesday.
We'll see. I mean, we'll do a Pegasus podcast live for the OC search, the DC search, the quarterbacks coach search. We'll just keep them rolling.
There we go. Christian Simmons, thanks for being with us on Suns Alive and following Marlon Williams. You did all right.
Thanks for having me as always.
Christian.
What we had originally talked to Christian about was kind of putting a wrap on the football season of uniforms, and he filed this report earlier.
Well, one of the best things for me personally about the Gus Malzahn era being over is that I think I'm finally allowed to talk about UCF's uniforms again and how good they are without people getting mad at me or getting mad at UCF and saying, "What are you talking about? Who cares what they're wearing? They should be winning games, blah, 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 blah." Let's talk about what really matters, and that's the uniforms. Just giving you a quick recap on how UCF did in the uniform game in 2024. If you're on Twitter, you're probably familiar with Uniswag, which is the gold standard in uniform rankings. And did you know, all you haters, that UCF this year appeared in the Uniswag top 10 countdown more than any other season in UCF history? They had 4 different combos get ranked. It was a great, great year. It's so funny because I know fans like to say, "Oh, bring back, the 2017 era uniforms just because UCF was good in 2017. And I get it. I miss Pewter. Pewter's got to come back. But in a lot of ways, we are living in the golden age of UCF uniforms. Just this year alone, we saw the throwback decal, like you're seeing right next to me here with that amazing night mode combo. We saw 3 different face masks. UCF wore 1 face mask color from 1979 to 2019, and we saw 3 different face masks this year alone. We saw 2 insane different blackouts, one with nothing but black and gold, one that was nothing but black and white with face masks to match and great details and everything. We got those awesome Fight Cancer decals. We got the incredible moon dust uniform combo for the space game. This has been such a fun year for uniforms, and I'm so excited about the things they get to play with next year now. They have these face masks in to do all kinds of crazy stuff. This is a great, great time for UCF uniforms, and I hope that the new coach understands that and embraces it, and I can't wait to see what they do next year.
3 different face masks. Did you know that? Were you on that?
I can't say that I did, honestly. That's a great stat. I can't say I did. I also was just making sure we didn't have a coach during that. So these little breaks help me make sure nobody got hired while we're there. But we got Clay Pasco in the chat here. We've got Eric Lopez standing by. My hope is they got us covered with news breaks, but I don't think they had anything about face masks. That I don't think.
I know you want them, as we all do, to find the right guy. Where are you at on it's Thursday and the guy's not been named? You asked that question of the previous guests. So where are you?
That's a great. So my only concern at some point, Trace, is when does it become being thorough to the line between that and indecisive? When can you just not make a decision? If you know, you know. And so I gotta assume at this point you're sitting here Thursday and you don't know yet because you don't have the person either able to have conversations with you, or you're still not sure about some stuff. So that's my only worry is at some point, is it just indecisiveness? And how are we gonna break that tie? And I also think, listen, as much as I love UCF and I bleed black and gold, UNC's out there. That's a job people are going to want. Purdue's in the Big Ten. While they're a crappy program, being a Big Ten school, that'll pay some money. So yeah, we're after guys like Summerall and Odom and Kotelnicki. So are those other schools. So the longer we wait, are these folks all going to get plucked off the map for us? And should we just zero in on the guy that we want? And that's where I just wonder, are we being indecisive?
or are we being just thorough in our process? And what's the line between that switching from one to the other? That's where I'm concerned about the timeline.
What do you make of Kotelnicki, who may be a little bit of a dark horse in this race as the week has moved on? His name is, and by the way, he's got a game coming up as well, right, on Saturday. So if you hope this would all be wrapped up with between Summerall on Friday or Barry Odom on Friday, this could drag on beyond that.
Yeah, he's got a wide open offense, right? I think Penn State's playing really well. He really kind of, I guess, got to the national prominence at Kansas, where he had a dynamic quarterback, though, in Jalen Daniels, who had played really well. He did not play well this year without him, and so that helps. But if you look at his resume, no head coaching experience. He spent some time at Buffalo. Before that, he was in small schools up in the upper Midwest. So he's got no coaching experience at this level at a head coaching job. And I guess that's the only thing that concerns you is he's got creative offense. Can he lead a program? Can he run all sides of the football? Can he be the face of your program? Hasn't really had a chance to do that anywhere yet. Now he's got a great offense, but is he ready to step into those shoes? That I don't know, but his offense would be super fun to have.
And how many guys would he bring over from Penn State to restock the roster? That's probably a tough task.
I think the thing we're not talking enough about, though, Trace, with all these guys is, and this is really a concern I would have with Scott Frost, is who are they bringing as a coaching staff, right? It's not just the head coach. Who's the staff?
Scott's putting the band back together.
But he's not, though, right? Because we've had conversations. Some of those bridges got burned a little bit at Nebraska, right? And so there's some hurt feelings there. Coaches talk. I mean, you and I talk to Coach Lonsberry a lot. Coach, it's a small circle. So if you coach that with Frost in Nebraska, maybe you didn't have a good time. You tell your friends, like, who is his staff going to be? Who's out there available that's going to join him? Now, I'm sure anybody wants a chance to coach at the P4 level and may fall in love with that. But can you put together a staff that makes sense? Can you keep a Becton on staff, which you would think he could, right? Can you get a Kevin Smith back? Maybe, can you build a staff that can recruit the state? Frost, maybe. Colton, I don't know what his connections are from there. He's never been in this part of the country. I don't know what his connections are. Same with Barry Odom. Summerall's a little closer, but I think that's the thing we're not thinking enough about is who can bring together the best staff if they actually get this opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good point. I like the hire coming out Saturday. There's a basketball game Sunday. It'd be a perfect opportunity to unveil the coach and family on Sunday, and then a good Monday presser. That's my recipe for how this unfolds over the next couple of days. Got to happen sometime.
It's got to happen sometime. Yeah. I mean, it's again, my concern is the longer this drags out, the other schools have opportunities to make their pitch as well. West Virginia has a chance to make their pitch. Again, Kotelnicki's been.
They haven't hired anybody either, though, right?
They've been in
North Carolina.
They've been Kotelnicki's a sort of a northeastern, western kind of guy. Like, does he fit that better? Summerall to UNC. Purdue's open. Does Barry Odom say, "Wait a minute, Big Ten job? I'll take that," right? Like, at some point, is UCF going to be musical chairs and they're the ones holding the chair, or I guess not holding the chair at the end? Right? Is that how that went? I haven't played musical chairs in a long time. If you don't have the chair, you lose, right?
If you're without a chair, you've lost.
When's the last time you played musical chairs? You're looking at me like I'm crazy. I don't like.
I see it. It's a game that they play at the UCF men's basketball games with the students. So see that game.
I got a record these last couple of years, Trace, for crying out loud.
Let's go around the kingdom for some news and notes.
Yeah, I don't have a sounder for that. So we're just going to go right on around the kingdom. One of those things that we forgot today was 17 guests.
Volleyball finishes 2-15 in the Big 12, 9-18 overall. And Terry Mohajir, shortly after the announcement by Gus Malzahn that Malzahn will be moving to Florida State, Mohajir fires his hire, Jenny Maurer, the longtime assistant who got promoted to head coach. So 2 seasons in the Big 12, and that search seemingly underway. Not a whole lot released in that statement, but a search for a new volleyball coach. So if we're judging Terry Mohajir's record, that was a hire and a fire of someone under his watch. Women's basketball, 6-2, did not do well out in Las Vegas, lost to UNLV, lost to Montana State. They are at Texas Southern on Saturday at 2 o'clock. Softball with its schedule out. 54 games, 31 at home, 17 on the road, 6 neutral, and they have Oklahoma on the schedule. I thought they moved beyond Oklahoma. Pretty tough schedule, as Eric Lopez shared with us on this week's Around the Kingdom. always a tough schedule for Cindy Ball Malone as they transition with a whole lot of younger players as they say goodbye to a lot of familiar faces for softball. We went live on Around the Kingdom. This live stunt programming all week has really been
sweeps week, Trace. It's sweeps week.
Sweeps week. As we build the shows around the coaching search, do we have a clip to show you from
that? We do have.
When is a football hire not important? I've never heard somebody say, you know what, that football hire is not that important. It's okay.
Well, Terry Mohajir's still in his job despite Gus Malzahn not being in his, and that might not have sat well with Dr. Cartwright or other, board of trustees, etc. So he maintains his job despite Gus Malzahn moving on. So important, he can't get it wrong.
I don't think he can get it wrong. I think it's important for the program not to get it wrong. This will be the second head coach in the Power Conference. If you whiff on this hire, you run the risk of this program being an also rant in the Power Conference. Remember the days, Trace, when we were in the G5 and we were laughing at all those schools, the Mississippis of the world. They're so mediocre and earning a check. That could be us.
You can find that episode of Around the Kingdom on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Do you see Matt Dolan's comment?
Yeah, to recognize that Scott Frost. Scott Frost jacket he had on there. Yeah.
Elo is one to bring out props from time to time. Different jerseys, different hats. He's a prop
guy. Steve Martin was a prop comic, yes.
What about Dr. Cartwright in all of this? He's an interesting player in all of this, right? He can't be satisfied with if the athletics and football in particular is the front porch to the university. It's taken a little bit of a hit of late. What do you think Dr. Cartwright's role is in this conversation?
I didn't have this on my rundown, Trace, but it's interesting, right? You said this on a show recently, I think, right? Like, President Hitt was somebody who was vocal. You kind of understood where he stood in these things. We don't hear a lot from anybody at UCF, right? We don't know what Cartwright's perspective is. We don't know what Terry Mohajir's perspective is. And so it really is tough to understand how in tune he is to this hire. But I got to imagine he understands, just as you said, every president always says athletics is the front porch of the university. Football generates a ton of eyeballs, generates a ton of revenue. I got to imagine he understands how important this hire is for UCF, how disappointing the last couple of seasons have been, and whether they felt that in their pocketbooks from fan bases, whether they felt that just in negative commentary. It's hard to say if they're on social media. God bless them, by the way, because I'd hate to be in Terry Mohajir's mentions on Instagram or Twitter right now. But I would hope he's heavily involved in this and that he recognizes that this is an important hire. Now, I hope he's not making football decisions because I don't know that he's the best one for that. But hopefully he's giving guidance and helping Terry Mohajir understand what this hire means. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of talk about Scott Frost and saying, hey, bring him here. If he does a great job, great. If he doesn't work out, we get rid of him. We just kind of move on. Well, guess what? Terry Mohajir won't be here to get rid of Scott Frost, because if this doesn't work out, this is really going to be the hire that we judge Terry Mohajir on. If he wants a contract extension, if he wants to be an AD maybe at another school at some point in time, he's got to nail this hire. And my hope is that his president is helping him make sure he's making the right decisions and giving him good guidance along the way. Because if not, the next guy will be making the hire after this coach doesn't work out.
I know you and I talked about this during the week. Many fans critical of Terry Mohajir for not much of a statement. It wasn't even attributed to him, released by Sports Information, and no presser, where West Virginia's athletic director had an open session with the media lasting about an hour. We don't have a sense, beyond the cliche type of things that you might expect an athletic director to be looking for. We don't know from Terry Mohajir what he's looking for in his next football head coach.
It's an interesting strategy. We talk about this a lot on the show. When you don't give people information, you allow them to fill in the gaps with their own information, their own inclinations, and that obviously can lead to a lot of different concerns, right? So it's an interesting strategy just from a PR standpoint. But I think you and Elo said it best. Is what is he going to say? I'm going to hire a coach who's dedicated to UCF, who's going to bring us back to. He's not going to say anything that's going to allow you to understand how you feel, right? So I don't. While I would have, you don't
think you might have learned a little bit about what he's looking for? I mean, the sorts of questions we've been talking about in all the shows this week: offensive minded, defensive minded, previous head coaching experience. Is he open to an assistant? You think he'd just bat all those away and not give you much?
I do. Yeah, I don't think he's going to offer him. I mean, sure, he may give you a hint. Like initially we had heard, I don't know where this came from, by the way. So this is one of those legacy things. There was the thought out there that he wanted somebody with head coaching experience. I'm not sure where that started, where that originated. I don't even know where that came from. But here we are with Andy Koltnicki as a candidate on the list with no head coaching experience, right? So even if he got up in front of us and said, "Hey, we're going to do this, that, and the other," I don't know if you can believe that, because I think sometimes all things go out the window when you're in the middle of something as important as a coaching search.
I think we've been pretty neutral about this. People ask us where we stand. We don't try to put the foot on the scale too much, but I would say we're a little bit more on this show with bringing back some former players to talk about Scott Frost, because it's such an interesting name. We bring back former UCF offensive lineman Jordan Johnson, current offensive line grad assistant at Oklahoma State. Jordan, welcome back into Sons of UCF Live.
What's going on, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
We
can. Where are you? Where are you wandering aimlessly?
I am actually at Oklahoma right now.
Oh,
I am leaving the stadium right now, leaving work.
there you go. Tough season for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, definitely. 3-9. We started off 3-0 and lost the last 9. Definitely not our best work.
It sounds a little bit familiar, but this Scott Frost talk now with Gus Malzahn moving on. What do you make? Can he find lightning in a bottle again and revive the UCF brand?
Wait, could you repeat the question? I can't hear you.
I said, do you think this Scott Frost talk, can he come back and revive the brand?
We talking about Scott Frost?
Yeah.
Scott Frost is the man. All of us love Coach Frost when we played for him, and he was amazing to play for. And I would imagine that coaching anybody that wants to go win a lot of football games would be glad to coach for him.
Jordan, what were his strengths as a coach? What did you like most about playing for Coach Frost?
I would easily say his charisma. I mean, he was just a winner by like his swag when he walked in the room. Like, he walked in and we stood up straight type of respect for the guy. And the fact of the matter is, he played in the NFL and he wasn't really notable for his NFL career. But as a coach coming into UCF, and he was bringing this fast-paced offense from Oregon, and he had this Heisman candidate and the fast-paced tempo and athletic people, you see fast, you see fierce, like all of that whole mantra, we bought into it, we believed in it, so it was awesome to just be a part of all of that.
As you embark on a coaching career, is there something that you learned from Coach Frost when he was coaching UCF that you keep with you to today?
Just that same mantra that he always told us about having a desire to excel and no fear of failure. You would hear him say that a lot in all of his interviews and stuff, but that was something that he preached to us a lot as players. Whenever we would go out and compete on the football field, it would always be about not being timid, not having thoughts about failing or messing up, but just going out there and playing free and just thinking about succeeding rather than failing. And that's how we played.
Drew, you talk about success and failure. Unfortunately, his tenure in Nebraska did not go very well. How much stock do you put into that 5-year stint where maybe he didn't get the results he wanted out of Nebraska? And what do you think he learned from that?
It was painful to watch, truthfully, and I wasn't watching it very closely. It's like game in and game out, but just kind of following the scores and looking at the records and seeing that they weren't having the same success that they were having when we were getting coached by him. And truthfully, I don't put a lot of stock in it, just because what I witnessed and what I was a part of was nothing but great coaching, great team camaraderie, and then I was rooting for Nebraska the whole time while they were still losing it week in and week out. I'm calling Coach Austin, their old line coach, and hoping that they're going to turn it around. And he's saying that they will. And then eventually they got let go, so they didn't really get a chance to. But I mean, I was hoping that they would turn it around there, and they never really had the chance to.
How would you describe Coach Frost's connection with recruits?
When it comes to recruiting, I feel like Scott Frost is really good with. I already mentioned how he's so charismatic. It's like it's almost. It doesn't, because there's a fine line between being like, I'm that guy and like cringy. He's more like, that I'm that guy, so I don't really have to say it. And it's almost down to earth to speak with him, because it's like, he could be acting like I'm that guy chest out, but no, it's just like, I'm a regular person just like everybody else is. So it's very easy to kind of bond and get to know him and connect with him.
Jordan, obviously, Coach Frost had experience in the Big Ten, but you're in the Big 12 now, right? You're coaching in the Big 12. How different do you think the Big 12 conference would be for Scott Frost to adjust to? Just the verticality, the physical nature of the conference. How tough of a transition do you think it may be for him to the Big 12?
I think it would be a really smooth transition, just because he's used to scoring a lot of points. I mean, that's what the Big 12 is all about, or at least traditionally. It has been known for a lot of points on offense and defenses. Whoever gets the first stop kind of wins type of defense, you know? So, I mean, I think that that fast-paced offense that we were running when I was at UCF would easily do magic in this conference for sure.
Tough sports year for you. Your school there, 3-9, UCF 4-8. Why the struggles in Oklahoma State this year? What happened?
I think that the Big 12 conference is just a really competitive conference. I think that week in and week out, you're bound to play a really tough opponent, and they're going to be good on offense, good on defense, and have really, really good players and good schemes and good coaches. I mean, it's a game of attrition too. So you can start off with really good players in the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, you have a lot of injuries and you got a lot of guys out and banged up and whatnot. So I mean, there's a lot of factor that goes into winning and losing a football game. So struggles this year come from just guys kind of playing the game and then having the things that happen to them and not being able to respond as well as you should, you know?
Jordan, obviously you were a player. Now you're on the other side. How much has NIL changed football from when you saw when you were a player to what you're experiencing now?
It's night and day. I mean, it's a whole different game now that NIL is involved. When I was a player a couple years ago, players weren't getting paid to play. I mean, there was the new cost of attendance is what they called it. But nowadays it's kind of crazy for sure to think about. It's ever changing too. So I mean, it's unpredictable. All we know is it's getting bigger, faster, stronger over the years. We don't really know what's really to come next. So I mean, it's kind of a whirlwind, truthfully, but we find a way to navigate it.
We've been talking about Scott Frost. What's Coach Gundy like to work with?
Gundy's awesome, man. I mean, he's a great, knowledgeable coach. It's funny how whenever he comes in with his suggestions, they always work, like literally always. So, I mean, whenever we're struggling as an offense, he has such a in-depth offensive mind that he's like, why don't you just do this? And then we do that, and then it works. And it's like, why weren't we doing this the whole time? You know? So I mean, it's been awesome just learning from him, truthfully. The way that he communicates with his coaches and all the players on the team, and he remembers their names, and not only just their names, where they're from, and who, like, he knows every single individual on the team, where they're from, and the team camaraderie around the team. Throughout all fall camp, we have a mantra that we go around and ask someone like what they're from, what was they like growing up, and just tell me about yourself. What you do? What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? And it's like that little 2-minute conversation with one person on the team every single day makes guys want to play for each other more. You know, so that's something that I'm going to take with me for sure because he's awesome for doing that.
Well, now that you've had some time on the coaching side, Jordan, what would Jordan Johnson, the coach, have told Jordan Johnson, the player, back in the day?
How about bend your knees and get your head up and roll your hips through contact? And I don't know, man. I go back and watch my film, and I was a good player, sure. But as a coach, you go back and watch your own film, and you're like, what was I doing? That was not me. Who is that? So yeah, man, it's humbling for sure to look at yourself and see that you could have performed a lot better than you did just as a coach, knowing that you know more now than you did when you were 19, 20, 21 years old, you know?
Arizona State, Iowa State. Who's your pick?
That's a tough one, man. Both teams are really good this year. I did play against Arizona State this year, so I've seen what they had to offer, so I'm going to go with them. I broke those guys down. I seen their D-line. I coached one of their D-linemen at Cincinnati. He transferred to Arizona State, so I'm going to take Arizona State for the win. I haven't really watched much Iowa State this year, so I'm going to take what I'm familiar with.
Former UCF offensive lineman Jordan Johnson, we appreciate you being with us on Sons of UCF Live, and continued good luck in your coaching career.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Go Knights.
Appreciate you.
There we go. Charge on, Jordan. A little walk and talk there. I thought for sure he was getting in an elevator at some point. Right? I thought we'd be challenged for about 30 seconds on the audio there.
So Clay is informing us in the chat here that Tavion Swint has decided to be a Knight. He is signed with UCF tonight. So breaking news, Nightmares J there in the chat there. Tavion Swint, a 4-star running back out of the Central Florida area, officially a Knight, according to reports, including Clay Pasco and Nightmares J.
There we go. How about that? People continuing to commit to UCF without...
They're committing to air, as Christian Simmons said on the Pegasus podcast on Tuesday.
Well, the thought being, one thought being that we're at Thursday because Terry Mohajir wants to watch some championship games. Another name in this mix is Barry Odom, head coach at UNLV that plays Boise State in a championship game. We're going to talk about Barry Odom with UCF student Matt Turman, who I met at the Brits Bunch fundraiser at Poor Choice Orlando. We welcome in Matt, first timer on Sons of UCF Live. Matt, hello.
Hey, how's it going, Trace? How's it going, Adam? Really happy to be here tonight, guys. Where do you guys want to get started? I was told to come in with a little bit of
come in hot with Barry Odom. What's the case for Barry Odom, Matt?
First time.
All right. So Barry Odom, where do I get started with the guy? It's interesting. I was listening to the episode you guys posted this morning. He's not really been talked about. We talk about championship weekend. UNLV obviously plays Boise State tomorrow. And he's obviously had the Rebels in this position before, which is why I kind of like him. He's on an upward trend the last 2 seasons. He's led UNLV to their first 9-win season in over a decade. And he also brings with him the ability to recruit and I wouldn't say recruit, but develop talent. He had the first All-American in UNLV program history in Ricky Williams, the wide receiver. And in that case, when we're bringing him in, having him develop talent on an upward streak. He's younger. We're looking for a younger guy to build the culture here at UCF. I think he brings a lot of stuff that we're looking for, and he checks a lot of boxes, although very quietly. And I think he should be very much more considered for the job. Adam, you there?
I am here. Matt, a lot of people have said that
first timer, Adam.
First time, long time. A lot of people have said Barry Odom's success these past couple of years at UNLV is due to offensive coordinator Brendan Marion. So how do you evaluate Odom without Brendan Marion potentially as his offensive coordinator?
Actually, when I was doing my research this week, I found that Odom's success really stemmed from the defensive side of the ball. Going back to Memphis, he took a defense that was 117th nationally, brought him into a top 25 program there in 2014. Now if you want to look even recently this season, if I remember correctly, UNLV held Ashton Genty, respectively to a humble 100 and at least under 150 yards. So he was able to, I've always looked at more from the defensive side, which I think UCF has lacked more in the last couple of years. So offensively, I haven't even necessarily kind of considered him in that standpoint, more so what he brings to the defensive side of the football.
You and I exchanged text messages earlier about the Dr. Cartwright factor with Barry Odom having been at Missouri. How much of a factor do you think that is here?
I think it's an interesting factor and one that's kind of being kept on the down low, obviously, because the time at Missouri was a little bit questionable for both of those men. But in that standpoint, they worked together at the University of Missouri. I believe it's referred to as the chancellor. That is what Cartwright was over there. And obviously, Barry Odom stepped in for the head coaching role, and they actually worked together for about 3 years over there at Missouri. They went 8-4 in their best season together early in, I believe, 2016. After that, it sort of went on a downward trend at Missouri before they let him off.
We're losing the case for Barry Odom now.
Well, I'm presenting the honest facts,
Maybe Matt should go on mute. All right, so you got Scott Frost, who obviously is a big name, right? A lot of offense is attributed to him. Andy Koltnicki is another name that's out there. Again, big offensive name. What do you think the reaction would be from UCF fans to Barry Odom, the defensive stalwart? How do you think Knight Nation would respond to him as the hire?
Well, I think with him being such a I wouldn't know. At UNLV not being such a large program, it's going to take our fan base a little bit of time to even, I guess, kind of know the guy, especially on the younger side of things. I'd be shocked if other college kids knew who Barry Odom was, obviously with UNLV playing so late over there on the West Coast. So I think Knight Nation would have to do a little bit of research. However, I think once we laid out the facts and laid out his resume, because when you look at it, like I said, he brings in that defensive side. He's proven that he has the ability to establish talent also in a short period of time there for 2 years with UNLV. And not to mention, I say this as a student, and we talk about culture and what we want to be as a program, but he did lead UNLV to the academic All-American status with a 3.2 GPA as a team, which
Is that important to students like you and fraternities at the UCF campus, Matt?
I like it a lot. I think it's a great look. I think that's a great look. If we're starting from square one, which obviously this is going to be a big hire for the university, like you guys have talked about. Let's make sure we're getting the guy. He's had he's had a couple programs now where he's had the ability to kind of learn and also kind of prove himself and establish a sort of culture and program. That's kind of what we're looking for here, and I think we offer him the tools here with the university now currently how we're sitting.
You're going to roll out the red carpet for him at the fraternity house?
No, sir. We're a little off campus, so I don't know if you see. We might get.
Tell us about your Instagram site before we let you go. That you talk all things UCF.
Absolutely. So I'm actually a business student over at UCF, and I've been kind of thinking about what I wanted to do for a while. I've always had a huge interest in sports, and I just kind of got to scrolling through social media, and I was looking through a lot of different accounts, Barstool, Sons of UCF, 24/7, Rivals, all those sort of accounts. And I noticed that there was a lack of a platform that sort of incorporated all of UCF athletics under one compass. I try to cover women's sports and male sports on UCF Report. Obviously, that's a lot, especially during the fall season. Especially for one guy. It's just me. I'm not paid or anything. I'm just doing it because I love UCF and I love being a Knight.
Hey, I can identify with that.
Absolutely. And so that's kind of what I do. And obviously, I think in the age of NIL and social media, I think getting your athletes, whether they're female basketball players, male track athletes, getting their name, image, and likeness out there, whether it's the help of social media, can really boost that revenue and make UCF a more opportune place for athletes to come in the future.
Matt, we appreciate you being with us, making that case for Barry Odom and his academic prowess at UNLV. Thanks for being with us on Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, what about the case there for Barry Odom?
Yeah, I didn't
expect him to pull out the academic credentials.
I don't feel on the Barry Odom case that well. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, Barry Odom and Matt, by the way. Not feeling the Barry Odom case. Yeah, not feeling that one. I think if Barry Odom becomes the guy standing at the podium on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever day, I think there's going to be some concern from Knight Nation.
Well, we've had 6 guests introduce us and talk about various candidates that are under consideration, or at least that fans are talking about. We could use a 7th guest to kind of draw it all together. You have any ideas?
Could we?
Yep. Yeah, well, we've gone long.
Let me see what I can do.
We haven't even gotten to the mailbag. You know anybody that could just put it all together for us?
Let me see who's in the chat here. What? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, what? Surprise mystery guest.
Why is he dancing?
Hey, what's wrong with your Twitter handle? At UCF Mike 1.
Come on, fellas.
That's probably an FAA violation of some sort. What's up, Mike?
So, Mike, I was talking to a UCF fan at the night walk before the Utah game, and he said, "Whatever happened to UCF Mike?" I go, "Well, it's been a tough season. He kind of stepped back from things." And the security guard holding the rope goes, "That guy quit." And I'm like,
he's not wrong. Retired was the word I used. Retired.
Have you come out of retirement?
It's possible. I mean, we're talking money. Why the money starts coming in? Anything is possible. I mean, you guys are working overtime now. It's a little too much.
All right, where are you at on this coach search? Well, let's go back a little bit. Reaction to Gus Malzahn, now the offensive coordinator at Florida State.
I'm so happy that the whole era is over with. I wanted the best from Malzahn. I supported him the first few years. The first year, he comes in, Dylan Gabriel gets hurt. You don't really blame him for that year. Wins a couple games, beats the Gators. You think the recruiting's going to take off, and we never really did anything after that. He never won the American. He loses the championship game there in year 2, and then the first 2 years in the Big 12 have just been a disaster. Starting with the first game against Baylor, when you blow a 30-point lead, we can't win at home anymore. He couldn't win on the road at all for the last 2 years. It was just it was time.
Hey, they won at TCU. Come on now.
I don't know how they won that game, by the way.
Yeah, neither does
Looking
he.
back on it, TCU is a pretty good team. TCU should actually be in contention for the championship game. If they don't blow that game, it would be
KJ Jefferson led him to a comeback in Fort Worth.
Yeah. And then he played one more game after that, or two more games, I guess. And that era was over too. So it was just a disaster every year, bouncing between four different quarterbacks. We could never find our identity again this year. Gus came into the offseason talking about like he was going to be a tough guy, but you can't just become that overnight. You know, either you are that or you're a player's coach. You can't just switch from year to year, and it just doesn't work.
All right, Mike, you're famous for your top fives. I don't know if we have that, but give me your top three choices for UCF head coach. Go 3-1 for me here. UCF Mike's top three. What do you got?
I give you five right now, and they're all the same. Deion, and Deion.
Yeah.
That is the guy. There's no other questions about it. And I don't want to hear
the
about
bank. UCF
money.
just finds money somewhere.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the money, because the money is not an issue. You know why? Because you make so much money off of Deion. I looked it up just now. You know how much is estimated he made?
Adam,
Speaking of academic ratings, here we go.
You know how much money it's estimated he made for the University of Colorado? $340 million.
Wow.
Okay. They made over $113 million on 6 home games. The application rate has gone up 20% in the last year. Deion makes you money. You're not buying Deion, you're investing in Deion. And it's the best thing we can possibly do. If he's asking for $10 million, I give him 12. And that's a bargain. That's a bargain for the amount of money he's going to bring into this program, the amount of exposure you're going to get. You can't, there's nobody else in college football that can give you that right now. To me, it's a no-brainer. You break the bank. And guess what? We're getting paid twice as much money from the Big 12 next year as it is anyway. There's your money right there.
All right, Deion aside.
I don't think he's going Deion aside, Chase. Good luck with that, though.
Who else? Scott Frost. Tell me, are you in on Scott Frost if it's not Deion?
I'm warming up to Frost in the last couple of days. You know, I see him have success here. I know it's a different story now. The landscape of college football is a little different today than it was 7 years ago. I get it. But it's a guy that I know wants to be here. Of all the guys, he's the only one, and it's weird to say because he did leave us once. He's the only one I think would stay here long term. Any other these up and coming guys, Colton Necky, Summerall, any of them, they come here for 2-3 years and they knock it out of the park. Somebody else is going to come after them and give them more money, and then what? We start all over again anyway. I think if somebody comes after Frost, he already knows what it's like to leave. He already went through that dance. He's already gotten paid. Nebraska's not going to come after him again. Who's going to steal him from us? Even if he is doing a great job, he's the one guy I think that would stay here for 7, 8, 10 years.
Mike, what's taking so long? Why are we here Thursday and we don't have a coach yet?
Hopefully it's because they're negotiating with Deion. I mean, that's my
doing a little cash advance, a little home equity line of credit on the bounce house.
You know, yeah. I mean, get the biggest donors you got and tell them you're going to make that money.
You're
back.
one of them.
Yeah, they're going to make that money back in a year, and it's not even $10 million to me is nothing for a guy like Deion. And it's not just the number one thing you need to look for in a coach to me is somebody that's going to win. That's the most important thing, right? But number two is make this program nationally relevant again. We have not been relevant since Heupel left. In the last 4 years, we've gone backwards, right? Nobody cares about UCF watching UCF games anymore. You've seen the TV ratings this year. They're abysmal. 2017, 2018, 2019, 20, people wanted to watch UCF. We were a thing. Nobody cares anymore. Deion would bring that back in 1 second. All of a sudden, college game days here, big noon kickoff every week. It's a party again.
What's in it for Deion? What would interest him? Let's take the money. You know, they're going to give him the money. Why UCF for him?
The only big thing is it's Florida. You know, he's a Florida guy. He wants to come back to Florida. This is going to be your only chance to get him if you're ever going to get him, because he's the guy that he probably will leave in 2 years to go to Florida State. Maybe he's waiting one more year and see if Norvell leaves and he's going to go back to Florida State next year. That's possible. But does he really want to live in that cold weather? I mean, he's been there. His kid's now gone after this year. What's really keeping him there in Colorado? He can all the recruits he brought over to Colorado, he can take back with him to Florida. That's not a problem. So is it money? Because if it's money, he's getting paid, what, $6 million at Colorado right now? Double it. Double it and see if he says no.
Nice. Mike, buddy, I miss you. We used to talk every week about UCF. I miss talking to you. So I don't know the answer to this question, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I apologize in advance. You caused a little stir on social media with some commentary recently, but I don't know about you. What's a great question. What are you doing with your season tickets? Have you renewed your season tickets for the 2025 season?
I have not renewed yet.
Oh.
I have not. And I was dead serious. I was not renewing if Gus Malzahn was this head coach again next year. And I've dropped my season tickets before. I'm not one to just threaten it and not do it. In 2011, I dropped my season tickets. I've been a season ticket holder since 2006. 2011, after that season, O'Leary completely drove me nuts. Was up and down. And then coming off that 2010 season, 2011, we lose to FIU. There's a game against UAB where we just completely blew a game. And I was done with them. I wanted no more. I was sick of it. And I canceled my tickets. I didn't have season tickets in 2012, and I didn't have them in 2013. But I still went to a couple games a year like I always do anyway. So I was going to do that again this year. I was not going to support a Gus Malzahn program. It was over for me. But now he's gone. We don't have a coach yet. I do plan on renewing, regardless of who the coach is going to be, unless it's just a complete head scratcher, a Joey Halsley, something like that. Then I'll think about it. But anybody like the top five names, I'll be back. I'll have my tickets again.
Where are you at on the volleyball search? Do you have a top five on the volleyball search? Maybe that's what Mahadra's been working on this week.
Yeah. I don't care if the volleyball team has to drive themselves to every game next year. If that's the money you need to pay Deion Sanders, you take that money and you do it. Okay. You can cancel the program for all I care.
Drive into Lubbock.
Yeah, drive exactly. They can caravan to Lubbock in 6 cars.
Well, let's say you're back on board, you're revived. Which road game looks most interesting to you? They're in Provo. You've been to that one, right? BYU. You've been there. There's Cincinnati.
No,
Kansas State, Manhattan, the thriving metropolis of Manhattan, Kansas. They're back in Lubbock. Hey, how about Waco, Baylor? They've got that sailgating concept along the river there.
David Koresh. Yeah.
He's not going to be there, I don't think. Yeah, don't count on him.
None of those excite me at all. BYU is the nicest. You can make a nice weekend out of it. The one time I did it, we made a long weekend out of it, and we went to Vegas for a couple nights. So that was kind of fun. But my wife was pregnant.
You made a long weekend out of being in Provo by going to Vegas.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. If you haven't experienced it, I get it. You want to go out there. The stadium is beautiful. It's in the mountains. But it's a weird atmosphere going to a game there. I felt like I was walking into church going into that game. It's not like if you're going there to tailgate and party, good luck. I mean, we had to bring alcohol from Salt Lake City down to Provo just to get it in there into the parking lot. And then I've told the story on the show before. We've had like one of those fake bras that fill with alcohol. And my buddy walked in with that for the second half. And I was breastfeeding out of his shirt for the whole second half of that game. So don't go there expecting like a party like UCF fans are accustomed to if you're going to Provo.
Mike, did you know that Clay Pasco's behind the scenes clipping things for Instagram? Clay, make a note.
Yes. Mike, you could do Waco, right? So here's the thing about Waco, a little underrated. They got that Magnolia thing, that Chip Joanna Gaines. Your wife, your daughters, they could go do that Chip Joanna thing for a while. You go to the game, and that could be a win-win for you. I know it's Baylor, it's Waco, by the way, but you could spin that into a family trip.
I've heard those names before. I'm not really familiar with them or what they do.
They're probably going to be our new head coach at some point in time. Mike, I heard you also on social media. A lot of kids obviously transferring out, right? What are your thoughts on UCF and the transfer portal? Obviously, it's wide open. A lot of kids hopping in. Are you concerned? Are you good with this? What's your take on the transfer portal right now for UCF?
Anybody from this past year's team, if they want to go, have a good time. I'll see you later, man. I'm not concerned about it. I'll wipe the whole slate clean. And whichever coach is going to come in here, I'm sure is going to bring a handful of their own guys too. And if it's Deion, obviously he's going to bring the top-notch guys. But anybody,
Louis luggage.
Yeah, he's bringing luggage and it's Louis. And even the Tulane coach, if he were to, I think he's out now, right? Somewhere else they say he's out, but you never know with these rumors. But he would anybody can bring a quarterback in with them. That's the first step.
It's a fair point, Andy. It's a very fair point about UCF, Mike. Very fair.
But yeah, I'm not concerned about the transfer portal. I mean, kids are going to come and go. It's going to happen every year. This is going to be a rebuilding season. It looks like coming up no matter what. So give the new coach some time to. And there's another signing day coming up, right? This was just an early signing day. There's still another signing day. The transfer portal goes from now until kickoff, 9 months from now. So you have plenty of time to fill that up. The players that were here were not good enough. And if they want to leave, then let them leave.
Knights played 4 quarterbacks in 2024. Do you miss John Rice Plumlee a little bit?
Ooh.
He would have been a better option than what we saw this year.
How many games did they win, John Rice Plumlee's quarterback this year?
The problem is he couldn't stay healthy. You're going to tell me he's going to stay healthy for 12 games? They could have won 6, 7. There's games in there they should have won. I mean, we all know the story. The Iowa State game, the Arizona State game, they should have easily, I don't want to say easily, but they should have won those games.
Mikey Keene is your quarterback. How many games you win?
I don't really trust Mikey either. I mean, he's just the same amount of games as Dylan Risk would have won if he started the whole year. I think Risk played well at times, and then a book starts getting out on you, and he's got to make some adjustments now after teams adjusted to him. So they're all the same. Tommy Castellanos, how many games we win with him? Probably about the same. You know why? Because the coaching would have been the same. They would have found ways to blow it anyway. This was an undisciplined team. The one rant I really would have done if I had been doing these shows the last couple of days or a couple months,
couple weeks, couple months,
was the Braden Marshall fumble at the goal line. Oh my God, that was like the epitome of what this team is. Just stupid. That's a stupid play that I don't know how that still happens in 2024.
Hey, Christian Peterson would like a word.
Man.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a good one.
Yeah, and that's another one. I mean, and it's happened so many times the last couple of years, undisciplined play from this team, and it goes back to the coach. That's old. An old saying is the team takes on the personality of the coach, and this team took on the personality, undisciplined, soft, and at times stupid on their play on the field. So that's what it was.
Are we talking about the Giants?
Them too. Wow. I mean, they stink too. So yeah, I'm going to have a new head coach, maybe on both teams, new quarterbacks on both teams. Football's been very depressing this last couple years, but this season in particular, it's been rough.
Mike, one thing I can appreciate about you is how well you're holding off cursing, which I appreciate out of you. But give me, you're a wordsmith here. Give me one word to describe the Gus Malzahn era.
Failure. It was a failure. Yep. 4 years and the team went completely backwards. Right.
You think the program is in a worse position now than it was at the time of his hire, or the same?
Well, the program is in a bigger conference now. I mean, that's had nothing to do with him. We were in the American, but we were competing for championships in the American before he got there. And now we finished in 15th place out of 16 teams. 15 out of 16. You really can't get worse than that. I mean, one spot, but it was horrible. It was horrible. So I don't think that the program's in a better place. I can tell you that. We would have been better off hiring somebody else.
Are you hanging out with us for the mailbag?
Yeah, I'll stick around. What the heck?
All right, look at this.
Hey, it's that time again, Adam.
Well, I wasn't ready for that. I mean, you got to give me some warning next time. Jesus, Lord, Trace. I mean, what do I look like around here? Where's the mailbag button? I can't even find it.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
The short version of this open.
Yeah, I haven't had the time to make the longer version.
Michael, emptiness 4. Now that the Gus era is over, UCF's top 5 games in his tenure. Mike, go.
Top 5 Gus games. Number 1 is the Gator game. Number 2 would probably be, you got to go in that 2022 season. There was a couple back-to-back, was it 3 weeks in a row with Cincinnati, Memphis, and Tulane, right? So there's 3 of them right there. And you want to say the first game ever against Boise State with a 21-point comeback in the rain late at night? Those are the top 5 that come to my head right away.
Space game, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I mean, but that's coming off a 5, again, like this year. After you have a 5-game losing streak, are there any big games after that? I don't think so. The season's over.
Adam, we leave anything out there?
The only one I wrote down was TCU this year, just because I have no idea how we won that game.
That's
what
a good
about
one.
The other Boise State game in Boise?
Okay, all right. So yeah, there's a few, but see, early in the season when there's still something to play for. The Boise State game last year was at the very beginning. Was the second game of the year. The TCU game made us 3-0. Yes, so we had let's put it this way: all his biggest wins, or most of them, came in September. Right? He had one big win late in the year, and that's the bowl game against Florida, which a lot of people discredit because they didn't have a coach and all the guys opted out and all that crap.
From Blue Sky at DebG-UCF, a lot of players fleeing to the portal. Who are you going to miss the most? I think you, Mike, just said you ain't going to miss any of them. But if you were going to miss somebody that goes to the portal, maybe Caden Kittler, a little stability at center.
Yeah, I already missed Xavier Townsend. Yeah, when he left, I know he left early in the year, but
maybe he'll be back.
That's what we needed. We did nothing but fair catch every single punt for the rest of the season. This guy, the first 2 games, all of us said he's going to return one for a touchdown this year. There was no doubt in any of our minds he was going to do it. Right? He looked great. And then you had him as a weapon on the outside too to go along with Kobe Hudson. That's who I wanted to stay. I wish he would come back. Well, the other guys, take him or leave him.
At Nightmare Shay, if you had to guess, what do you think the primary reason UCF players are hitting the portal? The 4-8 season, Gus leaving, chasing a bag / playing time. I think one not on there is that they don't know who the head coach is going to be and how they may fit into the program. So I think I wouldn't enter the portal or announce it. I'd wait to see who the coach is, but I imagine that's a factor for him.
Yeah, I mean, all those reasons, because every year the same thing happens. Every year, 20, 30 guys enter the portal, and it's for those reasons. Some of them want to get paid if they're really good. Some of them just want playing time. Some of these guys you never heard of, right? You see the announcements come out and you say, I didn't know this guy was on the team. At least I didn't. So they're looking for a place to at least play some football somewhere. So everybody's got their own reasons.
Adam at UCF Salina asking for clarification. You're the research guy, the facts guy. If players enter the portal, they can return once a new coach is hired. Doesn't the school no longer have to honor the scholarship at that point? How likely do you think UCF would bring back players? And should UCF want those players to come back?
A lot of questions there. Yes, they can return. The new coach does have to welcome them back, obviously, and I believe they forfeit their scholarship at that point, so they'll have to kind of get re-signed, but that's just paperwork. Should UCF want them back is interesting, Trace. You just said the same thing, right? Like some of these guys are checking out, seeing what's happening, going in the portal and sort of seeing their options. But I mean, listen, if your boss left your work and other people are asking you to come work there, like you'd probably do the same thing, right? So I don't blame some of those guys for maybe doing that. So yes, take most, well, not most of them. Take Matthew Alexander, Caden Kittler, Xavier Townsend, EJ Colson, take them back.
At Tan the Man _L, not a question, but he says, I got off Twitter, stopped watching all UCF postgame content. It got that bad. 2015 bad. What a relief. I'd rather get behind a young staff with growing pains versus an old horse trying to learn new tricks. I don't think he's for Dan Mullen. Mike, new guy, young guy.
I prefer somebody with head coaching experience. Even though the 2 guys that worked out best for us were Frost and Heupel, and they had no head coaching experience. But now it's a different animal. You're in the Big 12 now. This is not the American anymore. I prefer a guy with experience. I prefer a guy that I know is going to stay here, which you can't trust on any of them. And I prefer somebody that's done some winning before. Frost checks some of those boxes. I would be okay with Frost. And if the money is the concern, it seems like he's the guy that will be the least of your problems with money.
I have one stipulation, Trace. I'm glad we're off Jamie Chadwell. No more visors. I'm done with the visor. I don't want a coach who wears a visor. Wear a full baseball cap like an adult at this point, all right? So no more visors. Get Jamie Chadwell and his visor out of my life.
At Black Gold _Ed, what hot G5 coach has truly succeeded moving up to P4, and how long did it take him? Does Heupel count?
Yeah, sure.
Does Heupel count? Yes. I mean, Kurt Signetti was mentioned earlier. I mean, you can say he's an idiot, but Mike Norvell went undefeated with Florida State last year. I mean, so there's probably some examples that are out there of guys who have done stuff like that.
A lot of these guys, most of them at one point were coaching in the G5, right? You don't remember them, but Urban Meyer came up through Utah and Bowling Green. It happens all the time. All the grades came up somewhere. Steve Spurrier was at Duke, right? Even though they weren't G5, but Yeah, they're smaller schools, and then they make the big leap.
At Sublime_Night, there are 4 coaching candidates. The preferred breakfast spots for each are Waffle House, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's. Who are you hiring based on that information alone, Mike?
Waffle House, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's. Dunkin' Donuts, I guess. I don't really eat much. I would eat a Dunkin' Donut. Starbucks is totally overpriced. My daughters try to talk me into stopping at Starbucks on the way home from school almost 3-4 times a week, and I have to tell them no every time. McDonald's, I haven't had a McGriddle in quite a while. And what was the other one? Waffle House?
Yeah.
Waffle House.
Haven't been to Waffle House in forever either. IHOP? No IHOP?
That was not a listed
Not
choice, but
pictured.
if you'd like to hire a guy who likes IHOP.
Denny's also not pictured, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, where are you at on the drinking thing? That was a big pronouncement of yours on earlier shows and social media. And it's still dry in 24?
Yeah, 6 months, a little over 6 months now. I've not had a single drink this season. Did not even cause me to have a drink. I feel great about it. It's the best I've ever felt. I feel like I'm back in high school again. So yeah, 6 months. It's been a lot easier than I thought it would be. I got to be honest. I don't miss it. I still do all the same things. I go to the games. I watch the games. I go to watch parties. I do all the same stuff. I just don't have a beer in my hand. And it's still fun.
Adam at Riley Carey 16. Offensive or defensive minded coach? What do you want?
I wouldn't mind defense. It's been a long time since we had a really stout defense. I think you can find ways to get offense generated. We haven't had a killer defense in a long time, so I'd be open to that switch. It's not sexy. It wouldn't put butts in seats, but I mean, I'd be okay holding teams to like 17 points or less a game. So I'll go defense.
At Wander Nights, this one for you, Adam. Explain: is the Pegasus podcast now under the Sons of UCF umbrella? Did I miss an announcement about overlap?
Not sure what umbrella means. I mean, Bailey and Christian do a great job. We enjoy working with people who like UCF like we do. And so it just made some sense to work together. We got some projects in the future we want to work on. So this isn't like a merger. This isn't like McDonald's and Burger King merging or something, right? They just do good stuff. It's good to have more people to work with on our side and maybe some new stuff down the road. So you can still catch all their stuff on their feed and their own channels and whatnot, but they're nice enough to help us out and be a part of our group here as well.
Mike at CapVeg1, without black and gold glasses on, where does UCF sit in terms of P4 job opportunities and where in the Big 12?
Yeah, of the 4 open jobs right now, North Carolina, West Virginia, and Purdue, I think we're behind North Carolina. Toss up right there around with West Virginia, ahead of Purdue, obviously. In the Big 12, I mean, location-wise, we got to be at the very top, right? All those others. Do you really, if you're a coach making millions of dollars, do you want to live in Lubbock and Ames, or you can live in Orlando? Right? To me, it would be that and Boulder, I guess, would be the other option. So, yeah, I think we got to be one of the top. You're in Florida, recruiting-wise, you got access to the best players in the country. It's a great job now, and it's a P4 job. So you win the conference and you're in the playoff. You can attract a big name that way.
I think you could do TCU. That's close to Dallas. Arizona's aren't bad either, right? You could do either the Arizona spots, but yes, the truck stop stuff, probably not so much.
At Poolman Mike 1, if we assume we'll get a G5 head coach, where would you set the over-under on transfers that he brings over from the team?
I hope like 20 plus at this point, because
after the portal and 8 or 10.
I hope that volleyball bus Mike is renting can hold some of those guys.
Do you want 20? Do you want 20 players from Tulane?
No, I don't mean from the same school, I guess, but we're gonna need an influx of human beings with large bodies who can run fast. So wherever they come from, I don't really care.
If it's the Tulane head coach, you want 20 players from Tulane, Mike?
Oh, about 20. I've watched a Tulane game early this year when they played Kansas State. I watched a little bit of that game. I haven't watched them in the last 4 months.
I was just going to ask you for a breakdown on Tulane at Army. The American
I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch them a little bit tomorrow. But that's interesting too. Like the games that these guys are in. If Tulane gets their ass kicked by Army tomorrow, is everybody sour on John Summerall? If Barry Odom gets destroyed by Boise State, does he look like a genius anymore? Yeah. The people, our contracts already offered to these guys, and then you take them back. You say, never mind. We'll just go with Frost.
We'll just go with Frost. At Mr. Matt Dolan, has anyone in the last week said, I'm really mad Gus left?
Eric at Night Fan 23 or whatever his handle is on Twitter.
There's
UCF
not a
guy.
lot. There's not been a lot of clamoring for Gus.
It's our good friend UCF guy Eric Edwards, the only person I know who is mad about Gus leaving.
UCF fans don't agree on anything, right? As we know, every week there's something to debate. Nobody really was debating that Malzahn should stick around. So I think pretty much everybody we were universally happy that era was over.
At Free Sport Travel, the Big 12 championship amongst two teams UCF nearly beat. Both were away games. Is it possible the 24 season wasn't as far off as we thought?
It's not possible.
Like we said the same thing last year, right? We beat Oklahoma State or destroyed Oklahoma State last year. They played in the championship game. We were a couple points away from beating Oklahoma and Texas Tech. It's the same story. And this year is all over again. We're right in these games. You know why? Because these teams are not really that great, which is why I think this conference is winnable. Look what Arizona State did this year. They're in the championship game. They were picked to finish last. Yeah. With their head coach, I don't think is a genius either, right? They had a very good running back.
Yeah, the genius quote, though, at the Big 12 media days about square pegs and rounds.
Right.
And then he had his quarterback run backwards 50 yards and almost blew that game to BYU, which I don't know what the hell he was doing. So he's not the smartest guy. And next year, who's going to be favored to win this conference again? Utah's going to come in with a new coach, right? So
maybe.
Allegedly, yeah.
He's retiring. Yeah. Who's the overwhelming favorite? Gundy coming back after next year, after this year, after 0-9. They're going to favor those guys. Kansas State is looking. You know who I would think is going to compete next year? TCU. Is that Hoover coming back next year?
Yes.
Adam, research.
As long as he's not transferring, yes, he's got eligibility.
If somebody pays him to go somewhere else, like Ohio State did with the kid that they have from Kansas State this year. But yeah, TCU could be a dangerous team next year.
Like how we call
Golden Knight _ the second. Which would be the hardest to believe happened if you told yourself before the 24 season? Colton Boomer transferring midseason, another 5-game losing streak, still undefeated in space games, going through 4 quarterbacks now because of injury. Roof fired 7 games in. It's got to be 4 quarterbacks.
4 quarterbacks, yeah.
4 quarterbacks. It's
without injury, I think it's the big caveat there.
Yeah, that's almost impossible to do without injury. He starts EJ Colton, and then he doesn't play him again after he didn't do anything wrong, really. He would do like 2 incomplete passes, and Johnny Richardson fumbled twice.
Johnny Richardson cost EJ Colson a job, which we're not talking
Vitamin
about.
water guy.
Yeah, it was the same game, right? That was the game he got.
The kissing bandit got us there. Yeah. If you look at our depth chart, it's almost like the Big 12. Like literally, the 4th quarterback was the first, and the first was the 4th. We literally flipped our depth chart from the beginning of the year.
At Dare Zim, why is it a popular opinion on this podcast that RJ Harvey was incapable of breaking records at UCF? Could you not see his greatness in September? I don't remember us ever taking it. I think we've said through history that Kevin Smith was better than RJ Harvey, and there was that debate raging, Mike, but I don't think we ever dismissed RJ Harvey and his contributions.
No, and he didn't break Kevin Smith's single season rushing record or career rushing record. Those were out of reach. He still finished how many yards short of that? He got the touchdown.
I think the only thing we said was because we felt like there were so many running backs, he wouldn't get as many touches this year because we thought Penny Boone wasn't going to be in a milk carton, and we didn't know that Johnny Richardson was going to be in the doghouse for 9 months, and Miles Montgomery was hurt. So I think we felt like it was going to be a revolving door of running backs. So I think that's probably where we leaned at the beginning of the year, but it wasn't anti-RJ as much as it was just we were pro running back room at that point.
And I am Rob, 6719. If you could rehire a former coach, Mike, George O'Leary, Scott Frost, or Josh Heupel, you got to hire one right now.
George has
got to be Josh Heupel, right? Because he's more familiar with the NIL era. George is no. George is out.
Right, George is too old.
I don't know, because I think Mike could talk to George now. Mike and George these days would be close. So Mike,
did you talk during the World Series? Did you talk about the Yankees at all?
Yeah, we did. We did. I thought I was going to go to a game with him. When they won the American League, I texted him, or maybe actually on the phone. I spoke to him one time too, and I said, are we booking our flights, or are we getting tickets to the Bronx? And he said,
and again he goes, "Who is this guy?"
He said, I will think about it for sure. He told me he had a girl in public relations that could get him tickets.
Hey,
those were his words.
Hey now.
He said, I'm not gonna say no to it. I'll find out. And then he never. And then afterwards, I already had my tickets, and I texted him. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the Bronx game 1 or game 3," and I don't think he responded after that.
Lonely B UCF. Who will be a first round draft pick? Jeff Godfrey, Penny Boone, or Tupac? No,
who will be found first? Who will be found first?
I did not read that first.
No, because I think Tupac's got some speed. I think we find Tupac first before we find Jeff Godfrey and Penny Boone.
I saw, I think it was Mario last week said that Jeff Godfrey would be on this show before I was, and here I am. I'm back. So I did see
that Mario.
And bourbon is good too. If you had a magic wand to control how UCF fans would act with the new coach and the rebuild, how should they act? How many years should they wait before they get upset? This FAU guy didn't even get 2 years. Can we agree that no matter who's hired, there's going to be a portion of the fan base that's going to have a meltdown? There's not going to be anybody hired that everybody likes.
Dion.
Yes. I don't even know about Dion. There's some comments in here that aren't pro Dion.
Racist.
Wow.
Wow.
And Mike is back.
The people say, "Oh, I don't want that circus around my camp."
Oh,
circus. That's what we need.
That's an uncomfortable word for some.
That's what people say. And that's exactly what we need. We need attention. That's what we've been lacking. Nobody cares about us. You know who we are nationally? We're Wake Forest. We're Purdue, basically. We're Texas Tech. We're just another team that nobody watches and nobody cares about. Deion Sanders changes that in one day.
Black Raven stems. I say the AD let the volleyball coach go. When will we realize he's the problem, not the coaches? Where are you at, Mike, on trusting Terry Mohajir with this pick this week?
I mean, on Saturday when I found out Malzahn was gone, I said I don't trust him to make the hire. I didn't, and he's got to prove me right. I mean, he's got to prove me wrong, really. This is his chance. It may be unfair. I don't know if I'm doing it fairly. Just basing it on the people he has hired. Malzahn was a failure. The only one that's been successful is Wallace in baseball, and that's been 1 year. I mean, we don't know for sure that that's a success. So he's got to prove it, and this is his last chance.
At Fear of the Pegasus, how much do you think Gus going to miss my questions and pressers?
Just as much as Ted Roof probably misses you. But you guys are not hard. The pressure, we call it the pressure cooker. You guys ask fair questions, right? Sometimes they're a little difficult in that he doesn't want to answer them, but they're not like hard hitting, crazy questions out of left field. They're solid questions. You do a good job with the questions. Is he going to go into
Clay? Clip that.
Florida State? Is he going to go in there?
Clay's not listening.
Was he getting softballs at Auburn? Was he going to get softballs at Florida State? He should.
It couldn't possibly have been more difficult at UCF as it was in Auburn.
Trey, how much money do we have to raise to get you to like a post-game FSU presser? What do I got to do?
That would be
GoFundMe. What do I got to do to get you? Gus strolls in that room, just fighting that top button, and they're smiling.
Well, here's the thing: he doesn't like the media opportunities. Norvell's known for having multiple media availabilities during the week, so he's going to be answering questions every week about.
It's a darn good football team, Trace. What was Scott Frost like to deal with? I don't recall your Are you pro? Were you friendly with Frost? You got a chance
I
here,
don't recall there being anything combative, but that it helped when they won every week in 2017, and 16 was a big turnaround. So I don't think he got as much criticism. Certainly, right? Things were on an upward swing.
He wasn't exactly like making
boring, right?
Viral clips either with Frost, right? He wasn't saying anything outlandish. Now, how would you feel with Dion in the room, Trace? How you going into those press conferences? A little more juicy.
That would be interesting. He'll have his people watch shows like this. What did he say on Around the Kingdom?
Easy with his people.
Well, he's got handlers and an entourage. You saw it in Vegas?
Yeah, to be fair, he does. Yeah.
You saw. I mean, you couldn't get anywhere near him.
You could be part of that. You could be walking right there next to him.
Well, I think my one in is
Jericho. No, you
Jericho's
did for a
while
while. At Media Day, you followed him from the podium all the way back to wherever the heck you went to that one time.
Yeah.
Yours guy.
Jericho's are in there. All right. It is that time now to find out what's In the box.
Still doing what's in the box, huh? All right, you're in luck, Mike. We got what's in the box.
It's a high-tech portion of the show.
It's right here somewhere.
Highest audience. As the show moves along, the audience is higher, and now they have this cardboard.
TN1215. Hit your promo code, 15% off. Holiday season. Get your goods in there. We got 3 left here. I love a good rummage. Let's see what we got here. This week's
Mike
question is, all right, okay, this is interesting.
You know this is fixed, right, Trace? There's one paper in there every week.
There's actually 2 more in there. All right, UCF Mike, I'll start with you. If you won the lottery, would you tell anybody?
I'd have to tell my wife and my daughters.
Okay. Outside of that, would you tell anybody outside of your immediate family?
After maybe with a postcard where from Tahiti or something. Hey, if you guys need me, yeah, I'd tell some people. I wouldn't go out on Facebook or Twitter and announce it, but people that need to know would know.
Okay, Trey Strelko, you win the lottery.
No,
we find that out at all. Just one day, I log into Suns Live.
Well, no, I think right in the state of Florida, they release it and disclose it at some point. So yeah, I wouldn't.
You would be the guy. I thought, wasn't there somebody who got the lottery like wearing like a Scream mask or something, like so that no one knew who they were?
Oh, can you do that? Can you? Well, they released your name though, right?
Who's stopping you though, right?
Yeah.
Use an alias.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't let anybody know. Yeah.
Would you live the normal life, or would you continue to be what you are today, or would you just up and leave?
Would you keep being that?
Or just are you just gone one day? Like I log in and it's just your kitchen behind you and nothing there.
I think my life would change. I think there'd be far more travel and things. I think things would change.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. All right, Mike, it's been good to have you back. How about this 2-hour extravaganza?
Yeah, I told you overtime. Adam, he's working you guys to the bone, man.
Well, you only worked an hour, Mike, so you're not even ready. You didn't even get a full pay tonight. You didn't even work the whole time.
All right, Mike, when is the coach hired and who is it?
Sunday morning, Deion Sanders is my hope. But
your hope, but be realistic.
Well, man, if Frost hasn't been hired by now, why is he going to be hired on Saturday or Sunday? Unless they're just trying to iron some.
And they got a game, right? Unless they're on a bye week this week. Are the Rams on a bye week?
No, they have a game, I think.
They have a game.
Yeah, but he's just like an analyst over there. It's not like he's drawing up plays.
I saw him on the bench next to Alex Ward the other day. I mean, he can't be that busy.
Yeah. If I had to guess, if I had a bet on it, I would say Frost. I think he is the betting favorite right now. Vegas did put out lines. He was like 2-1. And then these other names that keep popping up and then they disappear, like Sumrall, GJ Kinney. Who was the other one that was supposed to Chadwell?
Yeah.
One day they sound like they're the guy, and then 2 minutes later they're not even in consideration anymore. I don't think it's Odom.
But again, North Carolina, Purdue, West Virginia, they haven't hired anybody either, right? So
no. Well, North Carolina interviewed Bill Belichick apparently. I just saw that.
Oh, it's Clay Pasco.
There he is.
All right. No, I actually have some news.
Did you bring yourself into the show and bump out?
This is actually so UCF football deleted the tweet of Tavion Swint committing to UCF. The tweet is now deleted. He also deleted it from his account. Tavion Swint did. Just wanted to put that out there.
You're the one who told us he committed.
Yeah.
He did. I have the post right here. UCF says post deleted. So, just want to put that out there.
Program's falling apart, Mike.
Ready to commit.
Things are falling apart.
Anyway,
again.
sorry for the.
You gotta rearrange the screen here.
So he brought himself into the show and kicked you out? Is that what happened?
No, because it's a 3 box here. He obviously takes over the last box, which I think kicked out Mike, I think. But yeah, kids, what are you going to do? What was the question? Were you asking me a question or him?
I don't even remember. It was who's going to be hired and when.
Look, I think if we get to Sunday by 3 p.m. and there's no coach, it's Frost. I think Frost is the in case of emergency break class coach, right? I think he'd probably prefer to maybe go the Odom route, the Summerall route, the Kotelnicki route. but they have other suitors. They have other games being played. They have agents for a reason. I'm not convinced Summerall's even leaving Tulane at this point. So I think we get to Sunday, it's in case of emergency break glass. And Monday afternoon, Trace, you're strolling into wherever they held those the arena, I guess they'd hold that press conference.
Yeah, they got fences up around the stadium. So
you're trudging into the arena to re-engage with one Scott Frost.
Wow, that'd be something, wouldn't it? And of course, you can count on the Sons of UCF. We'll have programming. How many more days are we going live?
They're done for the week. I got nothing planned for tomorrow. Somebody could be live tomorrow. It's not me. I know this. Somebody may be live tomorrow. Could be Clay Pasco. He just pops on the screen whenever he wants. He may do a live show by himself for all I know. But I'm not planning anything. How's that?
I mean, if they announce the head coach, I mean, you guys.
Are you with Mike? Are we going Mike live if head coach is announced?
Are you back, Mike? Is this the return? Are you back?
Am I back? I mean, again. The same problems with Dion with the money is the same problem that's going on here.
Yeah.
Can you guys afford to have me back? It's possible this season. I gotta say, and I did kind of just disappear out of nowhere. This season took a big toll on me. It really did, and I didn't really plan on stop doing the shows. At first, the Yankees schedule just did get in the way. They were playing on the nights that we were recording. That got in the way one time, and then I went to a hockey game one time when we were supposed to record, and then it turned into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then the losing streak just ate me apart. And I didn't really want to talk about it, and it kind of just snowballed after that. But I could be back. I could be talked into being back. Well, we'll see. I mean, everybody talks about the second time around with Frost. Is it going to be as good as the first time? I don't know. Is it the second time of UCF Mike is going to be as good as the first time?
That is a bold question.
I don't.
We'll bring you this week.
Plenty of people to ask. I guess I'm not going to ask any of those people those questions. Mike, I will take. No, to be fair to Mike, I think I still have the text exchange. I won't read it, but I think I said something like, "Hey man, you want to record tonight?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, I got this, I got that, whatever." I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Do you want to just like take the week off?" He's like, "I'm okay retiring." But I think that was the literal text exchange we had as we kind of negotiated out what the next recording date would be. But we all got stuff going on in our lives. We're busy people. Mike's got kids. They got kids. My kid's going to UCF potentially one of these days. We still have to decide this, Trace. I know we've got to get her on the show so she can pick the hats, but I was looking at dorms the other day. We're doing tours of colleges. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives.
Yeah, this is true. My wife took a new job, and now basically I'm in charge of dinner now. Add another little thing onto my plate there.
Dinner. What'd you have for dinner tonight?
What was for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Chicken and couscous.
Fancy.
Wow.
Yeah.
What exactly is couscous for those who?
Yeah, it's like a rice basically. It's just another grain.
Why not just make rice then?
You boil water and you throw it in there.
Why not just make rice? Listen, Mike was legendary. We were I want to say one of the only apartments in the entirety of UCF that had our own rice cooker when we were in college. We legit had our own rice cooker that UCF Mike dominated. It was right next to the George Foreman, which Mike also dominated. So what happened? Why not just go rice, Mike? Why couscous? What are you getting fancy?
Because I've had rice for like the last 3 weeks, and I saw the couscous in there. I was like, you know what? Let's switch it up a little bit today. I got tired of the rice, and I just did the couscous. That's it.
Trace, are you a rice or a couscous guy?
I'm fine with either. Clay, clip all that rice.
Quinoa? Trace is a quinoa guy.
Quinoa's not bad, actually. Well, I mean, he needs a fork. You're not going to use your hands for that anyway, so you're good.
That's another one. Yes. Trace, do you not eat sandwiches? Or do you eat a sandwich with a knife and fork?
It depends on the consistency. It depends if it's greasy or something. If it's greasy, then no.
Just a regular ham and cheese.
If it's dry.
So you will use your hands.
Yeah, it's not anti-touching food. It's the it's whatever. If it's greasy.
If you get you go to Publix, you get a sub. Are you fork and knife? Or are you hands on there?
Yeah, that's a messy sub there. So that's a fork and a knife situation. That's in a way.
Publix is a messy sub, really?
Yeah, but I don't eat that anyway because of the whole bread thing and the gluten and so. Yeah.
What about the chocolate bar, like in Seinfeld? You cut that up?
No, I'm fine with that.
Mr. Pitt?
No, fine with that. All right. We've gone way over now. Mike, good to see you.
This is the largest audience we've had all night, Trace. I think we should keep riding this. I think this is what they paid for.
This is the part where we stop recording and then the conversation goes off the rails like it did last
time. I know.
time.
I've ate with Trace and Robert. Robert knows. He's got pictures and secrets, Trace. That's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, I can never comfortably eat around Robert. He's always taking photos, uploading them and stuff. Nobody cares how I eat or what I eat.
I think people do care.
I don't think people care.
I thought about that sandwich thing today. Well, I was just driving around and I was like, man, I think if I was listening to one of the earlier show you guys did, and you mentioned the eating thing again, I was like, what about sandwiches? Does he eat sandwiches? I needed to get the answer to that.
I like how Mike referred to as one of the shows you guys did. Just one of those.
There's like 40 shows now. This week.
Yeah. You've been gone a couple of months. There's more shows.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. The highest audience. Let's leave it on a high note.
Whoa, hold on a second. I gotta. Yeah. I don't understand this question, but I need to understand. Rate Andrew Jericho's mom's lasagna.
He had lasagna for Thanksgiving, and he brought me some leftovers in the press box on Friday for the Utah game. Solid. I messaged you, Andrew. It was very good. Mom did very good. Lasagna.
He wants the number out of 10.
He wants a number out of 10. You're
10. 10 out of 10. Good. Wow. Good lasagna.
Did he bring you a fork and knife or no?
He did. He did.
I mean, to be fair, you cannot eat lasagna with your hands.
No.
Nor should you, by the way. But yeah.
I think it's funny how you draw the line on something. Or you can't eat it with. Well, you're fine.
Well, I mean,
with everything else.
With your hands. I'm not a barbarian. I don't actually like lasagna, if I'm being honest. But you can't be a barbarian, right? You can't eat. I don't eat Italian.
Eating ribs. You're eating chicken wings. Those.
I don't eat ribs. I don't like ribs. Not enough. More work for not enough sustenance, in my opinion, on the rib.
You dip a little bread in the sauce of the lasagna, at least. Yeah.
Talking to me?
Oh, Trace.
I don't dip anything in anything.
I did not have bread with this lasagna. That would have been gluten overdrive.
But it's good that he brought you some food because you can't eat the stadium food. That's the other thing. As soon as Mohajer hires the next coach, that's the next thing he has to figure out is the food situation at the stadium.
It hasn't been the same since Scott Carr left. It hasn't been the
Tower
same.
expansion.
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
Since Scott Carr left, hasn't been the same.
You know, Mike, that the health department shut him down.
I know.
The stadium food. This was still the same university that trotted out some sort of, was it lobster roll or something? The hot dogs are shut down. You trusted them a lobster?
Mike actually threatened to get the buffalo mac and cheese at the Colorado game, but I think it poured on us, so we didn't actually get over that way.
Yeah, I think they only had it at certain sections. I did want to try it out. We didn't talk any basketball. You guys want to keep the show going? I'm going to be going to the game next weekend down here in Sunrise. I'm excited for that. Supposedly, JP Gilbert will be joining me.
Oh,
Brian W. Peterson.
That's a big supposedly.
Brian W. Peterson, Jackie, the old Broward group that we have that we've done a couple watch parties with. Supposed to be getting the band back together in Sunrise next Saturday.
You know who they're playing, right?
I know, Tulsa.
What an odd matchup that is. Tulsa versus UCF in Sunrise.
Yeah. And then Florida State Tulane in the second game.
And that's not any sort of tournament. It's just a one game.
Yeah. We played in that a few times. I'm excited for it. The last time they were here, I was there, and we lost the buzzer beater to Missouri.
Damn it. Yeah. But are you excited about the basketball team, Mike? I mean, are you watching? I know you're not a typical hoops head, but are you watching enough basketball this year?
Yeah, I've watched the first 4 or 5 games, I want to say. I missed the last couple. I didn't see the Milwaukee game. I don't think I even saw the LSU one. I saw the Wisconsin one was the last one I watched. They look exciting. They look athletic. I like what I saw the first few games. You got to get Sellers back and see how he looks when he comes back. And I think this team can do something. I think we can. Can we go dancing? That's all I want. That's the only thing I want is just to go to the dance.
The NIT dance?
No NIT. No more NIT. I'm done with
Mike's anti-NIT. No.
What about the Big Pen Bowl or whatever that one is? Right?
The Vic Pen Bowl? What?
No, remember that one tournament sponsored by Bic Pens?
It's actually funnier if it's Vic Pen than Big Pen. I'm not going to lie to you. Mike, are you, I know you were for a while there, potentially on the anti-Dawkins train. Are you back? Are you pro Dawkins now? Are you a Doc rider?
Yeah, I'm a Doc rider. I support Johnny, what he's done the last couple of years. Remember that video I put out when I congratulated him on his 300th win?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
as does he. He thinks about it often.
Right. Yeah, he enjoyed that one. But there's going to come a point now, even though the competition has gone up quite significantly in the Big 12, you still got to get to the dance, right? You don't even have to be over 500 in the Big 12 to get in. You can be 10 and 11, whatever. He was almost there last year. He's got to need a couple more wins. He got off to a good start this year. A couple more big wins this year. get into the dance. I don't care if you're getting in as a 10, 11, 12 seed, just get in.
Like, I think I did the math recently. We've done like 260 something episodes, maybe like 100 something like interviews. What's your best interview question of all time? I actually have the real answer, but do you know your best interview question of all time?
My question?
Yes.
There's been millions of them. The one I think of right away is when I asked George O'Leary if he knew that the players called him White Horse.
It's a good one. It's a good runner-up. The best ever is when you ask Gus Malzahn if he believed in cryptocurrency. that is the best question you've ever asked anybody of all time, my friend. It's not on video, though, unfortunately, or else I would.
No, it is on video. I have it somewhere. I'll find it.
Well, then you need to unearth that video.
At some point in that interview, it wasn't that question. It was he said, "You're asking a lot of really interesting questions." I've had some doozies. That was a good one. I asked Heupel about the shacket.
You did, yeah.
I think I asked Malzahn if he was think about wearing shorts on the sideline. I think that was a question. So I've had a few. I've had some moments.
We gotta put together a greatest hits reel of UCF Mike questions. that could do. Clay, clip these. Clay, get a reel going, Clay. You just give me a thumbs up for no reason.
How do you guys feel about basketball? We're okay.
It's exciting. I'm enjoying.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I'm enjoying watching this team. I don't know if we're going to be any good when we get in the Big 12, but they got length, they got rebounding, they got defense, they can shoot a little bit, right? They can much more offensive than they've been in years. So I'm excited. At least it's a fun brand of basketball to watch versus some of the 45, 47 losses we endured against Houston back in the day.
Right.
Yeah, I think they need Jalen Sellers back, and I think defensively there are some question marks. It's not quite Dawkins' team yet defensively, and they only have a couple of games left, and conference play starts, I believe, at Texas Tech on New Year's Eve. So they got to get it together quick.
And then Kansas comes to town.
Where does Jalen fit in? Well, like who's not playing if Jalen's playing? Because you're going to have to give up somebody's minutes. Is it this year's DeMar Langford, aka Debo Coleman?
I think Debo Coleman would lose some minutes to a Jalen Sellers. I think it's more how Jalen fits back into things once they're on a roll. I mean, they have a certain chemistry now. He's there obviously, but it's still different playing versus being, with the team all of the time. So I think that remains to be seen. I don't think they know the answer to how that's going to work either, but no indication of when he's back. Yeah, Johnny Dawkins says day to day every week.
Yeah. And then Mikey, right? Mikey Williams. We got to see.
Well, that's a project right there. That one's.
But you got to find minutes for him, I guess, right? You can't just have him on the roster.
He's going to have to earn his minutes.
Or else he's going to enter the transfer portal. So, yeah, big games ahead. I wanted to go up for the Kansas game. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Sold out. Do you have tickets?
No. Well, you can always get tickets. You just got to pay for it.
I heard your ticket rant. Yes, I know their tickets are always available on any and all markets. Have you apologized to Mary Ashbaugh yet? Have you guys made up?
No. And I didn't do anything. I forget exactly why she was mad at me. Refresh my memory.
You said give up your tickets or something, and if you don't, you're an enabler.
Oh, yeah. But you took that way too personally. All I was saying was if you are donating and still buying tickets while Malzahn's the coach, you have no right to say anything bad about him. You can't talk about firing him and all that stuff because you're supporting him. That's all I'm saying. Your wallet does all your talking. As a fan, you really have your wallet and you want to say social media as the only ways to really express how you feel. So I'm not apologizing for that. I didn't direct it directly at her. She took it that way. I don't know why.
That went well.
you tried to bring peace.
Thought I asked. Yeah, no. That's another one of my legendary questions.
You got all sorts of questions for Mike that you've stored up.
I haven't talked to Mike, and Mike and I used to talk literally 3 hours a week just doing this. And then
have you forgiven Mike for abandoning
I never had any issue
on the Sons of UCF?
I've known Mike since we met freshman year of high school, right? So we'd have been 14. I
30
just
years.
turned. Yeah, there we go. He's better at math than me, which has always been a thing. So I knew Mike was, got some stuff going on. He's like, yeah, Yankees are playing. I gotta relace my shoes tonight. Like I could sense that Mike was having a little bit of a thing there. So we never had any issue.
I almost didn't do this tonight. I was this close to going to see Larry David, who was at the Hard Rock tonight.
You made the wrong decision.
Fair.
I was gonna go, and my wife got home later, like it was like 6:45, and the thing started at 7:30. So it was like if she would have gotten home at 6:15, we probably would have went.
What's
So
his stand-up act like?
It's not even I thought it was stand-up. It's not. It was called Conversation with Larry David, and there was a moderator just asking questions, and supposedly he would be talking about a lot of Seinfeld stuff, a lot of Curb stuff, and then open it up to the crowd for like the last 10 minutes for questions and stuff. But it was interesting. I thought about going. We talked about going, just didn't work out.
Were you going solo, or were you bringing the kids?
No, it's just gonna be me and my wife. That were
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But instead, I was here with you guys.
Clay has some questions. Do we want to let Clay ask some questions?
Sure, Clay.
All
Just
right. Get in here, Clay.
All right, sorry, I don't want to barge in again.
You just did.
Mike, the fans are asking, are you making the move to Blue Sky? Are you on Blue Sky yet?
people are wanting to know that.
They were asking.
Yes, they are. Know many people.
I have no plans to join Blue Sky. I don't need any more social media. I'll tell you that right now. I spend enough time on X and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. I don't need another app to click on. Isn't it the same thing as Twitter? It's the same people, right? You guys are having the same conversations over there?
I'm not on it.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not even on Blue Sky.
It's too much.
A more serious question. So this past weekend, it was rivalry weekend, right? Mm-hmm. A huge discussion around flag planting. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. When is it okay to plant a flag in the middle of the field? When is it not okay? Michigan, Ohio State, Florida, Arizona State, Arizona. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on flag planting.
It's okay when my team does it. When the other team does it to me, then I get upset about it. Florida, South Florida did that crap to us back. What was it, 2008, when they beat us in overtime, and they I think they were digging. They went there.
They
with
got the shovel out. No,
yeah.
They got the shovel out. Yeah,
they dug up the end zone. So I get why people are upset. So it is disrespectful. But again, if it was my team doing it, I'd be laughing about it.
Yeah, but it's so like if a lot of energy when you plant the flag, but have that energy in the game and just beat them so they can't plant the flag. Like I feel like you're that fired up that you don't want them to do that, but you weren't that fired up to win the game. I don't know.
Win the game. Shot at Ohio State and future UCF coach Ryan Day.
That's mad at you. People got mad at you for that Urban Meyer joke you made earlier today.
What? Everybody else's name was flooded. Lincoln Riley was in the news for 3 hours.
There was Urban Meyer, and you said next UCF coach, and one guy said something like "you're insufferable" or something like that.
Wait, I want to know from Trace, how come? What's with all these tweets of asking people to direct message you? If you think Jamie Chadwell's the guy, send me a direct message.
Because I was trying to line up guests for the show.
Oh, I got you.
I was trying to line up different guests.
That's it. You were like, it was another way around dating or something. Yeah.
Whoa.
Direct messaging.
To
trying to line up guests.
I mean, if time doesn't, I don't know what time.
We're leaving. I'm leaving soon. So,
okay,
but I'm going to exit out soon.
You had someplace to be. You had 10 minutes, Clay. What do you got?
Oh, okay, cool. 10 minutes. College football playoff is upon us. It's almost here, and there's been a lot of discussion around 3-loss teams. Now, there's people advocating for 3-loss Ole Miss, 3-loss South Carolina, 3-loss Alabama. How do you feel about this? Should a 3-loss team be let in the playoff over, say, a 2-loss ACC or Big 12 team?
It depends on the teams, right? Right now the debate is Miami and Alabama. But Miami, they lost 2 games to teams they should have beat, and they don't have any great wins. So we know what the real deal is, right? The whole thing is a beauty pageant. It's made for TV, all that stuff. And Miami, we would think it still fits that bill of a team that people want to see. But you can't put them in after blowing a 21-point lead to Syracuse. It's not like they lost to good teams or great teams, right? So there's always going to be an argument. We always said that, right? When the playoff was 4 teams, we argued about the 5th team, and everybody said, "Oh, when they're going to expand it to 12, everybody's going to argue about the 13th team," and here we are.
So what you're saying is 16, 24, we're heading in that direction at some point.
And there will always be arguments about the last team in. And you do it with basketball, right? They have the bubble and the last 4 teams out, and there's 70 teams in that damn tournament. Somehow we're never one of them. But people are always arguing about the last 4 in and out of that thing.
I feel like we're missing a 2-loss BYU, though. Like, we're talking a lot about Miami and Alabama.
2-loss Colorado.
Like, we're missing – there's a couple 2-loss teams that aren't aren't being talked about as much. But
Colorado lost 3, I think.
I think
Yeah,
Colorado's got 3.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they're 9-3. Never mind.
BYU, but BYU's one good win, I guess, is SMU, right? You could make a better case for BYU over Miami, I would think, or maybe even Alabama, but they're never going to beat that Alabama in that beauty pageant.
That's correct.
Well, Alabama lost by 3 touchdowns to a terrible Oklahoma team. And same thing with Vanderbilt. I mean, Vanderbilt's not terrible, but
they lost to Vanderbilt.
Alabama has no business losing to Vanderbilt. I think we can all agree on that. But Alabama beat Georgia, so that's the whole. They beat. Same thing with Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky at home. They lost to these other bad teams, but they beat Georgia. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts. And also, are you guys excited for are you going to be watching the playoff? Are you going to be tuning into the playoff games?
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching the playoff games. I want chaos this weekend. What happens if Boise loses? Do they still get in? Because they don't get the automatic bid as the conference champion anymore. But are they ranked high enough where they only have 2 losses? One would be to Oregon, and one would be to UNLV. They still get in over Alabama?
If Army wins, our Army might get in because they'll have 1 loss, and it's to Notre Dame. So if Army wins the American, I'd probably put them as
Army's got a good
G5
chance of
champ.
winning the American.
Yeah.
They're not even ranked, right? They're not even in the top 25, Army.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're
not.
So Army would get in. Say Army wins and UNLV wins. You think Army gets in and UNLV gets out? And then Boise State still gets in as an at-large? Is that possible?
The thing
That's what I want. Chaos.
These questions are hard until after the games are played, and then the committee's going to make a stupid decision, and we're going to see Alabama in at
and South Carolina are going to get in it.
Yeah, it's I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, the current welcome to Up All Night, guys. Your favorite late night
Let's hand
UCF
things
show.
over.
Is that still on? I don't even know. Yeah.
You guys got to be back for the show sometime soon.
Oh yeah, no finals.
week
My
is
last
over.
final is tomorrow, and after that, Up All Night will be making its return. Hopefully next week, maybe even this weekend.
I want you to pick up where you left off, recapping that Florida loss.
No, our last would have been Arizona State, so we need to be recapping like the West Virginia loss.
I lied. Army's 24th, by the way. I lied.
Oh, okay, so they are ranked. So that's something to look out for.
Right, and then if Clemson wins against SMU, Clemson gets in.
Yeah,
with
3 losses.
Yes.
And SMU still gets in?
Can you
Does
believe this?
still get in?
SMU? Jeez.
Does SMU still get in with 2 losses? These are
The
the things I
ACC
wanna
is a
find out.
joke. The fact that SMU is their first year and from Group of 5 resources and come in and dominate, get out of here with ACC is better than the Big 12. Any argument?
Texas went into the SEC and dominated too. So.
Who have they played? Who has Texas played other than Georgia, who stomped them?
SEC schedule.
No, yeah, for sure. I love those wins that Texas had over Mississippi State and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
What a great schedule.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a SEC hater. I don't know if you guys know that.
Sounds like it. No.
You also just said something about the ACC. So what conference do you like?
I simultaneously hate and love all the conferences. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day.
I agree with you, actually.
You two should talk.
Yeah, I think this show should
be up all night. Sorry, Andrew, but you've been replaced by the artist formerly known as UCF Mike. Are you back to UCF Mike on Twitter? Did I see that?
It says so on the screen, right?
I mean, he can do whatever he wants on the screen, but on Twitter, I don't know what are you back?
I changed it as this show was on 2.5 hours ago, around 8 o'clock. I did make the switch back. I made this. Baseball season's over. Hockey season's not in playoff time yet, and the fans were clamoring for it. I had people asking me, "Are you going to morph back into UCF Mike? We need UCF Mike back."
Morph.
People, absence makes the heart grow fonder. People missed me, apparently.
This was your Andy Kaufman moment, wasn't it? You were planning this the entire time. I could just feel it. Clay has no clue who Andy Kaufman is. That's fine.
Did we ignore this? Who's on it, Dolly? Can you respond?
Yeah. You gotta censor Dolly a little bit. Like he's got some moments. You gotta selective with Dolly. Yeah, you'll learn, Clay.
I mean, Mike, you've always been UCF Mike, right? Like, if I saw you in the street and I yelled UCF Mike, you would turn around and be like, "Oh, that's me,"
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. The UCF Mike.
Would you also respond to Panther Mike? Would you turn your head for that?
Sure.
Yankees Mike 1. Would that get you turning around?
Maybe.
I had out handyman advice the other day. I think handyman Mike 1 could have also been your thing.
Yeah, I could be anything. I could be sober Mike 1 now. There's a lot of things I could be.
Sober Mike 1?
Sober Mike 1. I thought about that. Yeah. Just hand out sober advice to people.
Advice on how to be sober, or just like advice because
anybody that's thinking about doing it.
You got somewhere to be, Clay?
Oh no, I'm just checking the time on my Casio watch.
I think it's Casio, by the way. I don't think it's Casio.
Is it Casio? I don't know. I got it off Amazon.
French, dude.
$8, by the way. Tells time.
Looks like it, yeah.
So I am UCF Mike 1. I will always be UCF Mike 1 at heart, for sure.
Was UCF Mike taken?
Yeah, when I first started Twitter, UCF Mike was taken. That's why I had to go with that to add the 1.
What are the odds?
Right. Well, if you're in the dungeon, there's 2 other guys that go by UCF Mike. There's UCF Mike and there's UCF Mikes with an S. So I couldn't have that name there either.
You need to get to the bottom of this. Let me find out.
Fairweather fan Mike. That's a good.
How much are you willing to pay to get that handle?
Which one?
UCF Mike.
I found the guy that has the UCF Mike. This was a couple months ago. The guy must never log on to Twitter. I tried to see if anybody knew who he was because I found him on Facebook too. And I sent him a message, and I never heard back from him. So I don't think he's very into social media. But I wasn't going to offer him much. I'll tell you that.
Interesting trades accepted. Is that what was going to happen here?
Yeah. At this point, I mean, people know me as UCF Mike 1. I don't know if taking the 1 off would be good for business.
Have you checked, though, to see if you can get it on Blue Sky? Just to create a profile, just to make sure you have it?
Well, I think somebody did.
Somebody's going to take it, right? Yeah, there is a UCF Mike on Blue Sky because I sent it to him and I was like, is this you? And he said no. So there is a UCF Mike already on Blue Sky.
That was actually me. I
but he found his new co-host.
I did. I was like, are you free on Mondays? So stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, I will not be on Blue Sky.
He draws the lineup.
What a shame. I will not download Blue Sky until you do. So I'm with Mike on this.
I don't get it. It's the same thing. So I don't think it's necessary. Well, I mean, the people that are boycotting X, I guess, right? Because of Elon Musk. Is that where they're at? Jeff Sharon's over there.
Is this?
No, he is
2.5 hour of the Jeff Sharon drop.
Oh boy.
Is this the dawn of a new UCF show where we just talk about anything for 2.5 hours?
You clearly didn't listen to the Usual Sons of UCF podcast. This was basically anything from an hour on.
This was the halfway point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got to find out about the flag football team. How's that going?
No, not pictured right now. No flag football team right now. Do you have a cow of the week, Mike? Do you have a cow of the week prepared?
Yeah.
Oh man, no. But I never do.
So this is the show. Yeah, we're perfect.
We take a break. Adam says, "You got a cow of the week?" And I say, "No." And we go, "Oh well, there was this and this, and maybe." Okay, we'll just figure it out as we go. All right, and we're back. And then Mike's got a cow of the week, and here it is. The cow of the week this week is UCF fans that are going back and forth on who they want to hire, and that's how we usually do it.
No, to be fair, usually Mike would steal my cow of the week, and then I would scramble while he was talking to find a second cow of the week. That's typically how that worked. That's why he went first, so I had time to find a second.
Yeah.
I also don't think I listened to a Mike's pick segment for at least 6 weeks straight weeks.
Nor should you have, because my picks this year have been horrendous.
I've been very good. You've been on for an hour and a half, and I haven't brought up that I have a 10-game lead over you.
Yeah, I know. This was your year.
It has been a reoccurring segment, though, on the show.
Every week.
It's a down year for me with the picks. Yeah, you finally, after how many years of doing this, have a better record than me. There's an old saying about a blind squirrel finding a broken clock or something like that. But you finally got me, right?
Wait, aren't I leading all of you? And this is my first year?
All right, well, let's wrap things up.
Yeah. That's a good time. When the young kids are talking too much, it's time to end the show, Trace.
It is past my bedtime. I'm usually asleep by now.
Yeah. This is time to put a wrap on things. I'm going to be exiting, at least, for Clay Pasco. UCF Mike, the triumphant return of UCF Mike and Adam. I'm Trace Jericho. Go Knights, everyone.
Charge on, people.